It started before we even knew it began.
You ready, Jack? Great shot, buddy.
Holy man!
We fell in love before we even knew what love was. We learned hard work before realizing what the payoff would be.
First pick is for Cole.
We battled through disappointment before understanding what it meant to be resilient.
Very determined.
We didn't know everything that was needed to get here, but we know we couldn't have gotten here on our own. We also knew that when we got here, it didn't mean the journey finally started.
Score, Jack! Score!
The journey started when we took our first steps. We just didn't know it then.
For 31 young men and their families, we are about to watch their dreams come true.
Are you going to play hockey when you get older? Yeah. Yeah.
Vancouver, the host city for the 2019 NHL Draft, and this is it. We are moments away. The years of sweat and hard work and determination for the kids, the years of bad coffee and Zamboni fumes for the parents about to pay off in moments here at Rogers Arena. Welcome inside the rink. I'm Jeff Merrick, joined by our lead draft analyst, Sam Cosentino. Louis DeBrusque is aboard as well, and our GM, the one and only Brian Burke. I want to get right to it with you, Sam. The stage is set. We have a strong suspicion it'll be Hughes, it'll be Kakko. Does the draft today start at number 3? And if so, what are the issues?
Well, no question. And there's a lot of volatility in this draft for a couple of reasons. We start with these wild card players, and it starts at number 3 with Chicago. If you look at the early takeaway, it was Bowen Byram. And then we started to hear Alex Turcotte. He's got Chicago ties. And then we started to hear Trevor Zegras. And now Kirby Dach is the guy expected to go there. We start with him. Our next wild card, Spencer Knight. Not often a goaltender goes in the first round. Who's going to jump up and get this guy? If you really desire him, I think you have to get to 10 or higher to do so. How about Vasily Podkolzin? In my opinion, a top 5 guy here, the second-ranked international skater. There are no holes in his game. Yet, recency will tell you that he tailed off a little bit at the under-18s, and he has a 2-year contract. If it were me, he'd be in the top 5, but a complete wild card, maybe not even in 10. And how about Arthur Kaliyev? 51 goals for the Hamilton Bulldogs this year. He's in the company of Stamkos, Skinner, Tavares, guys like DeBrincat, yet there's a lot of wonderment around him. Is he in good enough shape? How's his play away from the puck? Is he an immature young man? All those wild cards will definitely impact what we see here in the first half of this draft.
Won the OHL championship last year with the Hamilton Bulldogs, maybe the best shooter in the entire draft. The Edmonton Oilers, Louis, right now, because who knows what's going to happen with the trades, are the team poised to select first from Canada at 8th overall. What do you suspect?
Well, an intriguing player for me is Phillip Roberge, and he's one of those players you look at, and the thing that jumps out off the chart is his speed. It's a guy that's over 6'3". His forward skating is remarkable. Was a forward until he was 13 years old, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he's so efficient skating forward. In today's game, it's so important. You watch his mobility. For a big guy, he's smooth. He can eat up minutes, and a very confident young man that's been on his own here over in Sweden. Again, I think this is a guy that could certainly jump up. He's from 7 to 21. He's rated, but who knows where he's going to go. I think he would be a good fit in Edmonton. We all know Ken Holland has a ton of history with Swedish players, this time the Detroit Red Wings.
Brian, Ken Holland, as Louis mentioned, has history with Swedish hockey players. He also has a lot of pressure on him. His first NHL draft as general manager of the Edmonton Oilers as he looks to try to turn things around in oil country.
Well, he's got the advantage of 2 lists. He's got the list that he had in Detroit, and he's got Edmonton's list. So he's going to be able to choose between those things. He's probably not in a position to evaluate the Edmonton scouts just yet, but he's got 2 lists. He likes Europeans. He likes Russians. In my opinion, this is going to be an interesting pick. And so I'm not sure where they're going with this. I know one thing. I expect moving vans to show up at a few scouts' houses after this draft. I think there will be some scouts that join Kenny in Edmonton from Detroit.
We should be watching the Detroit table closely.
Yep.
Tonight is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
All right, let's head now to the draft floor. Elliott Freeman with news and notes. There's no shortage of chatter about deals. Freege, what's the latest?
Well, it looks like there's going to be one deal, but not one that we were expecting right away. A deal between the Toronto Maple Leafs and restricted free agent forward Kasperi Kapanen and Chris Johnston of Sportsnet reporting a few minutes ago that the two sides are closing in on an extension, and that will be an important piece of business that the Maple Leafs needed to get done. Also, no question, though, that a lot of the talk tonight centers around the home team, the Vancouver Canucks. There have been a lot of rumblings today about their interest in Tyson Barrie of Colorado. The Avalanche have a great young defense, may get a chance to add to it tonight if Bowen Byram falls to them in the number 4 spot. Barrie is a year away from unrestricted free agency to a big raise after 116 points the past 2 years. Now, I don't believe anything is immediately imminent, but the fact is the Canucks have the 10th spot, and anything you would think, if it's going to happen, is going to happen around there. Let's send it now to more members of our crew, starting with Tara Sloan. Tara?
Thank you, Elliott. Well, as I have for the last few years, I have assumed the desk position right beside the stage. This is where the newly drafted players will come for a chat after they've donned their jersey, but when they're still basking in the glow of a moment that represents an entire lifetime of work. And whether it's elation, surprise, relief, tears, one thing is for sure, there will be the raw emotion of dreams coming to fruition. But this doesn't happen on their own. It takes a village, and that's where Dan Murphy comes in. Murph, over to you.
Yes, Tara, I'm in what will surely be the group hug section. Friends and family who'll be celebrating these draft picks. And we'll have a chance to talk to many of these folks who helped support these young men along the way on their journey to this day, the big day, draft day. Jeff?
You know, I did Dan's role last year, and I was terrified to make that walk, knowing that I would stumble. Good for Murph. He's a vet. He's not shy about doing that. The Battle of the Huts will be front and center. The Metropolitan Division is poised to get even better right now. Jack Hughes and Capo Caco. Quick thought, if we have a couple of seconds here, Sammy, on these two prospects.
We'll start with Jack Hughes. He's been exposed to the NHL from a very young age. Connor Brown, one of his mentors. William Nylander, one of his mentors. And when he played for USA Hockey at the Worlds, they sat him beside Patrick Kane. So that tells you everything you need to know about this young man.
Capo Caco, Louis?
Yeah, just a real mature young player. You know, when you look at the way he plays the game at 6'2", almost 200 pounds already at 18 years of age, a force out there physically and loves to score goals.
It's going to be tough. Brian, we're going to hold on to that. We're going to get the commissioner. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman kicks things off here in Vancouver.
Here, I admire the emotion and the passion. Wait, I have something for you which I think will change the mood. It's hard to believe that it's been 20 years since these two legendary players were selected second and third overall by the Vancouver Canucks. It's also impossible to overstate the impact that they have had on the Vancouver community. As good as they were as players, they're even better people. We are honored to have Henrik and Daniel here and to have them help kick off the 50th season celebration of the founding of the Vancouver Canucks.
Very proud to select the Marshall Spink, Team Moto of the Swedish Elite League, Daniel and Henrik Sedin.
It's the most beautiful city we've ever been to, so we're just glad. We're happy.
Henrik Sedin center, Daniel scores! Daniel Sedin's first National Hockey League goal. Henrik sets it up for Daniel and the Wonder Twins activate. These kids are fun to watch. Behind the net to Daniel, coming up front, Henrik scores! Henrik for Daniel! Daniel to Henrik, scores!
wait, there's more. Daniel and Henrik, it is my honor to announce that this February, your jerseys will be retired as part of a week-long celebration. Your sweaters will be raised to the rafters to join Canuck greats like Stan Schmiel, Trevor Linden, Marcus Naslin, and Pavel Bure. Congratulations.
Thanks, Larry. We're honored and humbled to be a part of such an elite group of Canuck legends. We're excited to be part of this very special season, the Canucks 50th. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel and Henrik. On behalf of the NHL, let me formally welcome all of you to Rogers Arena and thank you all for being here for the 2019 NHL Draft. Okay. Welcome to the viewers watching live on Sportsnet, NBCSN, TVA, those listening on the NHL Network, and Sportsnet Radio, and to fans at draft parties around the league. I can keep it up if you can. I want to thank the Aquilini family, the entire Canucks organization, and the city of Vancouver for your hospitality. We are excited to be here. Hundreds of young men have worked their entire lives for the opportunity to be here for this moment, to be a part of this draft, and to perhaps become a player in our league. Their families have sacrificed in countless ways to support their hockey careers. And now we all get the privilege of witnessing their dreams come true, much like Henrik and Daniel did. So let's get started. The first selection of the 2019 NHL Draft belongs to the New Jersey Devils.
All right, New Jersey Devils are first up. Ray Shero, general manager. This is a team that has not won a playoff series since reaching the 2012 Stanley Cup Final. Sam, you're expected to hear the name Jack Hughes here?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you look at the family connection between Ray Shero, who was once Jim Hughes' advisor, and the fact that this is a marketable player, American-born player that you can bring into a market that could use a little boost. And I guess if you're New Jersey, you're hoping you get Taylor Hall done as well. Then you're looking at Hischier and Hall. You're looking at the addition of Jack Hughes. Could be a fun time here beginning shortly for the New Jersey Devils.
And Louis, this will be the second first overall pick in franchise history. 2 seasons ago, of course, Nico Hischier goes first overall in the Chicago draft in 2017. Where are you at with the New Jersey Devils right now?
Well, you know, I like their young players, and I like the direction they're going. And, you know, I do believe Jack Hughes, if indeed picked first overall, which we do believe he will be, fits right into the mold. I mean, so would Kakko as well. But, I mean, for Jack Hughes, he's fast, he's offensive, he's an elite player. He's just going to add to that dimension, and they want to play that upbeat game in New Jersey.
Ray Shero signing a contract extension back in April, and what's going through his mind right now, Brian Burke?
Well, I'm confused. He's walking around the table asking for different opinions. It doesn't look like a team that's entered a pick into the computer and is waiting for the National Hockey League to say, okay, come up. He's not putting his coat on. He's explaining something, so I am confused. This looks like they're making a deal. I can't believe it. I'm with Sam. I think they're taking him. He's a dynamic player. He's a great kid. His hockey IQ is off the charts. I can't see them doing anything else.
All right, we will stand by to see what the New Jersey Devils do. As Brian says, where's the coat, Ray Shero? There's a carpet and a couple of stairs and an announcement to make as the New Jersey Devils are poised to select first overall in the 2019 NHL Draft. If it is indeed Jack Hughes, Sam, and we've sort of all expected to be, what are the New Jersey Devils getting in this player?
Well, you're getting a player who's going to come in and step in right away, like most other first overall picks, and a guy who I think is going to produce. But they're going to have to do a really good job hiding him, finding matchups for him, especially on home ice, and then the ability to be able to put him into situations where he'll be most successful. He's a guy that even at this level and stepping in right away will still be able to give you some power play time. But he thinks it well, he edges well, he skates well. The one thing that's most impressive about this guy is that he does everything at high speed, and he might actually be faster with the puck than without it.
Brian?
He will be the first player from the National Team Development Plan to go directly to the NHL. Even with all the great players they've produced, they've all played 1 year of university hockey before they've moved on. or junior hockey. And this will be the first player that goes directly from the NDTP into the National Hockey. He will play right away. They're going to ask him what number he wants to wear when he gets up on the stage.
Last time the draft was here in Vancouver, Eric Johnson from the National Team Development Program goes first overall. So it's a magical place here from that outstanding program as the New Jersey Devils hit the stage, poised to make the announcement of the first overall draft pick of the 2019 NHL Draft. Kakko, Hughes, Kakko. See what New Jersey does. Stand by.
On behalf of the New Jersey Devils and our managing partners, David Blitzer and Josh Harris, thank you to the City of Vancouver. From the World Championships, World Junior Championships, to the week of the draft. It's been fantastic, gracious. Everybody's had a great time. Thank you so much. On also, the Aquilini family, thank you for your hospitality. The St. Louis Blues, it was worth the wait. Doug Armstrong, Craig Berube, and to welcome the first selection in the 2019 draft to the Devils will be a Hockey Hall of Famer, three-time Stanley Cup champion, and whose jersey is retired by the Devils in 2016. And we also want to say, hope everybody down at Championship Plaza in Newark, New Jersey is having a great time. To make our first selection, Martin Brodeur.
With the first pick overall, the New Jersey Devils are proud to select from the U.S. program, Jack Hughes.
Costantino, we've waited for this moment for Jack Hughes, even going back to when he played in the GTHL in Toronto with the Toronto Marlies. First overall to the New Jersey Devils. Give us a little context here. How does he fit in with other players from the U.S. program?
Well, you have to look at a guy that makes those around him better. And look at what has gone on in the program. You start with Patrick Kane, the unbelievable NHL career. Phil Kessel, he's a sniper. Keller's just starting to make his way. But Jack Hughes in 228 points in just 110 games. I mean, the numbers are absolutely gross. The next number that really sticks out to me, in 2 years playing as an underager at 17 and then again here in his 18-year-old year at the World Under-18s, 32 points. That's the best all time. That beats Alexander Ovechkin. So you look at the kind of NHL company this guy's keeping at this age, and then you look at what he does on the ice. The vision, the anticipation, the ability to work right off the stick handle and either shoot the puck or make a great pass. Does everything at high speed. I love what this young player brings to the table, and there's no doubt he's the most dynamic player available. And as expected, New Jersey, they dragged it out a little bit, added a bit of drama, but Hughes is finally there.
Louis, your thoughts on Jack Hughes? First
I'm the same as Sam. When you look at the guys that he surpassed in that program, Patrick Kane and Clayton Keller, the two guys for me, that he's a very similar type of player to those two. A smaller stature guy at 5'11", speedy with the puck, and can control the puck at that high speed. He's super dynamic, and he's going to step right into the National Hockey League. Good pick by the New Jersey Devils. He was the consensus #1 pick right from the start. Kakko made it interesting, but Jack Hughes is the #1.
Up the middle now for the New Jersey Devils for the next however many years, Brian Burke, Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. We talked last year about the smallish defensemen, whether it was his brother Quinn or Adam Boakfist, who went to Chicago, about the trend towards smaller and skilled players at areas of the game that were traditionally dominated by bigger men. We're starting to see now more smallish centermen led by Jack Hughes. Brian?
Well, I think what you're going to see is a Paul Kariya type adjustment where he's going to line up sometimes as left wing, and then he's going to be the center once they cross the red line. Someone else on that line will get the down-low responsibilities and free him up offensively. People forget Paul Kariya was a winger, but he was a center whenever they got across the red line. So I think you have a similar thing there. I love this kid. I've known him since he's about up to my waist, when the used kids were running around every skating party we had. Crazy.
Outstanding. Let's go down to the floor now. Elliott Freeman standing by with Devils General Manager Ray Shero. Elliott.
Ray, was there ever any doubt?
You know what? I think it's it wasn't so much doubt. We won the lottery on April 9th. We got real lucky, real fortunate, but we had two great players we're looking at here, and both played in the World Championships, as you know. So the process, we took our time with it, and Capo Kakko went to see him in Helsinki last week, and what a wonderful kid. Both these kids are going to be great credits to the National Hockey League, and we're thrilled to have Jack Hughes as part of our franchise, though.
But you had to make the choice. Was there anything in particular, I mean, you've known him for a long time, that made you choose Hughes 1?
I think it's really hard, honestly, Elliott. It's like they're teenagers, and they get to know these kids, and it's almost like you feel bad, but it's a business thing, and no different back in 2017. We just felt for our franchise, Jack Hughes was the one for us, and but we put a lot of effort and time into it, and like everybody's got to do, but we're thrilled. It was a great day for our franchise, great day for the Hughes family, and we're looking forward to some good things.
Congratulations, and thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Elliott. Appreciate it.
Tara?
Well, the moment is finally here. A lot of anticipation, years in fact. It's been dubbed the Jack Hughes draft for a long time. The moment has finally happened. You sat down and you went, oh, how are you feeling? Is it relief?
Man, I'm so fired up to be a Devil right now. I'm so happy. I'm so thankful for everyone. Thankful for the Devil organization putting good faith in me. I mean, I'm really excited to be a Devil. Hopefully a lot of good years to come.
And your family, of course, so thrilled for you. As sporty as your parents are, you told us that they put a lot of emphasis on you and your brothers being a good person off the ice, first and foremost. How did they shape you?
Yeah, number one, it was always be a good person over a good player. I mean, that's what they wanted to create. I mean, luckily, I think they got both of them out of that. So, I mean, my brothers are awesome, great players too, but for my parents, they raised us as good people first.
And finally, Jack, you're going to share this night perhaps with a record number of your U.S. program teammates.
Yeah.
Describe that group and how close-knit you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, I was just blessed to be with such a great group, great people, great coaches, unbelievable group. I mean, we're so tight, gained lifelong friends. So, I mean, I'm so blessed. I mean, USA Hockey's on the come-up. It's going to be a great year for USA Hockey in the draft.
Well, it's a great night for the Hughes family. Jack, Congratulations to you. Luke is next. Jeff, back to you.
Yes, Tara, Luke is indeed in 2021. New York Rangers next up on the board now that Jack Hughes is gone. Number one, Sam Cosentino quickly. Safe to say that we expect Capo Kakko's name to be called now.
Yeah, no question. And yes, New Jersey won the lottery, but they love the consolation prize. If you're the New York Rangers, you're sitting there, let someone else make the choice for you. And let's go, big man. Bring it in to Gotham.
This rebuild has moved along quickly, Brian Burke. We were talking about letters they were writing last year. They may make the playoffs next season.
This is no consolation prize. I hate to disagree with Sammy. This is no consolation prize. They had to tape their wrists from doing cartwheels after they got this pick.
To our fans at MSG at their draft party. With the second pick in the 2019 draft from TPS Turku, Capo Kakko.
Okay, Louis. This guy plays in the NHL next year. Put it in the bank, long-term deposit, result guarantee. Tell us about the shift.
Well, the shift, if you just watch this shift from the World Championships, this really says it all about Capo Kakko and the size and the strength that he possesses, the edge work and the desire to get to the dirty areas. I mean, he was fantastic over there. And I think he really opened up a lot of eyes with his play. But just look where he was. He started from the back end, which is a defensive style that he plays, but once it's time to take it to the net, he fights off a defender with one hand, uses his size and strength, protects the puck. I mean, he is a man-child, and he played against men at the World Championships and did a great job. 22 goals, the most of a U18 player in the Swedish Elite League. That's an outstanding number for a guy in his draft year, and he's going to be a welcome addition to the New York Rangers.
Sam, the resume.
Well, what you have to consider are those that have come before him. In their first year of draft eligibility playing in the Liga, there's a pretty good history of Alexander Barkov, Patrick Laine, Mikko Rantanen, and now you look at Jesperi Kotkaniemi from last year, yet this guy's numbers are as good or better than the rest of them. So if you're doing very basic analytics on recent history, you'd have to think that this guy's going to come into the NHL, have an impact right away, and maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, we're talking about him in the same breath as we're talking about Barkov, one of the best 20 players in the world. Rantanen, one of the best 20 players in the world. This guy may very well follow his footsteps. The numbers tell you he's on that path.
Capo Kakko, this is now the 4th time that a Finn has been selected 2nd overall in the draft. Patrick Laine, Alexander Barkov, as Sam just mentioned, and Kari Lehtinen going back to 2002. Brian Burke, your thoughts on this player?
Going to play right away. He's got a high skill level. He's a fierce guy. He's got an NHL body already at the age of 18. he's going to step in right away, and he will be effective. He will be effective right away. Not just play, he's going to be effective right away. You look at the guys he compares to, Capo Caco, and everyone loves saying his name, by the way, Capo Caco, Barkov, Liney, Rantanen. This guy's legit already. Pick your number, kid. You're going to be a star.
You know what's great about the name, Brian, is it's impossible just to say the last name. It's a name where you have to say the first and the last, and Capo Caco. Jeff Gordon standing by with Elliott Freeman.
Jeff, the joke was you had the easiest job at the draft. You could sit there, wait who New Jersey took, and then make a nice, easy pick.
I think that's a fair statement up until I had to announce the name. It's a little tougher name than Jack Hughes, but honestly, we're honored. It's a great day for us, and really excited to get that pick.
Jeff, there's a lot of talk that he might be the most physically ready guy. What do you expect from him right away?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to stand here and say we expect 30 goals or 80 points or anything like that. I would never want to put that on a kid. We just expect him to come in ready and, give us a shot in the arm. I think he'll be who he is, and we'll see how that is come September and October.
Congratulations, Jeff, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, with the pick, here is Tara.
Elliot, most of the players that will come through here, we had a chance to meet in Buffalo at the Combine. We did not meet Capo Caco because he was too busy celebrating a World Championship victory with several million of his closest friends in Finland. How was that celebration for you?
Yeah, it was so nice for me, of course. It's in Finland like win the Stanley Cup if you win the championship game, so it was so nice.
Well, I'm sure they're all very, very proud of you this evening. One final question for you. Are you ready to play in the NHL next year?
I hope so. It's my goal for next season.
Well, there are a lot of people betting yes, Capo. Thank you for that. And congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Jeff, back to you.
There you go, an outstanding player. And that Rangers rebuild, I'm telling you, whether it's Kako or Kravtsov, or they brought in Fox, Elias Anderson, Philip Hedl, picking up Jacob Trouba by way of trade. The New York Rangers are back much sooner than many expected. Meanwhile, now attention, Sam Cosentino turns to the Chicago Blackhawks. And you've made this point countless times since even before the lottery. This draft starts at number 3. So the first two are out of the way, the formalities. The draft starts now with Stan Bowman. What are we looking at here?
Boy, there's been a lot of smoke screens thrown up here, and the early talk was about Bowen Byram. He's the best defenseman available. Then there's the talk about Alex Turcotte because of his ties to Chicago. Trevor Zegras was the guy whose name was bandied about, but the most recent name to come about was Kirby Dach, and we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition here. Those 4 names, I think Chicago's done an amazing job of just throwing it out there and keeping the wonderment, because what it does, if the teams below you don't know exactly how things are going to go, it starts to make them scramble a little bit. You make it a little bit tougher on your competition.
You're so right about smoke screens. Chicago didn't have a ton of contact all season long with Kirby Dach, if in fact that's the way they go. Detroit showed up a lot in Saskatoon. The Los Angeles Kings, Rob Blake went to playoff games. This is a very under-the-radar prospecting team.
Yeah, I like what they've done, and I like that wonderment.
The city of Vancouver and the Vancouver Canucks for their hospitality this week. I also want to say hello and thank you to all the Blackhawk fans at our official watch party at Joe's Live in Rosemont. With the 3rd pick, the Blackhawks are proud to select from the Saskatoon Blades, Kirby Dach.
He's been compared to a number of players, and a lot of it is because of the size and the skill. Mark Scheifele, Ryan Getzlaf, Jason Spezza. He strips pucks. Some scouts say Sam Cosentino, not unlike someone like Pavel Datsyuk, and he's not a stranger to putting a team on his back.
I mean, if you kind of look at what happened during the playoffs, I kind of took my team on my back and said, this is my year, and I'm going to prove to everybody that I want to be the best player in the draft, and in myself, I'm confident that I can be.
So I remember going back to April 5th, and in the games against Prince Albert in round number 2, they got pounded 6-1 in that first game. And on the air, I challenged Kirby Dach. You need to, big man, take this team on your shoulders. You need to go to the net. And in game 2, he responded with the goal. They really made a series of it. But when it comes to Kirby Dach, I think his stock really rose when you watch the National Hockey League playoffs. You see St. Louis win. They're big. They're heavy. They're but down the middle they're physically strong. So you're getting a guy who's a right shot center at 6'3", 204 pounds right now. He'll probably play at 215, and when it gets to playoff time, here's a guy who's going to be able to handle the heavy lifting, as we saw with St. Louis winning the Cup.
I agree, and I think the Chicago Blackhawks wanted some size down the road here, knew they had to get bigger and stronger, and Doc gives them that in all of it. And Ryan Getzlaf is the guy that likes to tailor his game afterwards. I said, you mean like a power forward type of forward? He said, no. I am relentless on pucks. I hold pucks and I'll drag them. And exactly what you said, Sam, when you look at the playoffs, that's what it's all about, puck protection. He's a big guy with a sweet set of hands. If he lives up to anything like Getzlaf, that's an amazing pick.
Ryan, not that you just look for the position and draft based on position, but if you look at the Chicago Blackhawks, down the middle, Jonathan Toews, Dylan Strome, Artem Anisimov. Does this player, if he makes it in the NHL next season, start on the wing?
He might start on the wing. I think he is a big guy. But he's a good small area player. Like, he's got a high skill level for a big man. He can make plays in small patches of ice. Lots of big guys can't do that. But if they're stacked too much at center, I predict he will make their team, and he might start on the wall, and that's not all bad. That's a lot easier than starting in the middle.
Sam, the Saskatoon Blades, as you very well know, in the second half of the season had the best record in the Western Hockey League. He talked about putting his team on his back. He's no stranger to doing that. Pause on your comment there, Sam. Let's go down to Tara Sloan. She'll be speaking with the prospects throughout the evening, presented by Esso. How far will you go? Tara.
Kirby, you look like you're living in a dream. The last time I saw you was in Saskatoon when we stopped there with Rogers Hometown Hockey. You were thrilled to make the playoffs with the Blades. It had been a while. Where does this rank?
Yeah, this is huge. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of speechless. I'm kind of taken back. I mean, I've worked so hard to get here, and for it to finally be here, it's a dream come true for sure.
What have your parents passed on to you? Obviously, they have athletic genes, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, a lot of knowledge. I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am without their guidance, and I think being a young kid moving away from home, they really helped me out to kind of find who I was, and without them, I'm not who I am. So I got them to thank.
And one more special name I want to make mention of. You guys have Xavier Labelle, the Humboldt Broncos survivor, working with the Saskatoon Blades team. What kind of perspective has he given you?
Yeah, Xavier is obviously a huge part of our team in Saskatoon. Kind of what he went through last year was something that you wish upon nobody, and so to kind of see how resilient and strong and mentally tough he was to come into our locker room and be an important piece to our team, and not even being on the ice, just his character and how great of a kid he is. It was awesome to have a kid like him around this year.
Well, he's all about living in the moment, and you should enjoy this one. Jeff,
thank you.
Back to you.
Outstanding young man, and Sam, as we know about Kirby Dach, he is the all-in kid, completely focused on hockey.
No social media until December because he had to with his First Skates Foundation, part of what his charitable work is with the Gordie Howe Foundation.
Elliott Freeman with Stan Bowman.
Stan, the draft started at 3. That was the saying. Why Kirby Dach?
I just love his all-around game. I think, the first thing you notice when you watch him play is his skill level, ability to make plays, score goals. I think the thing that really impressed me was just his all-around game. Very competitive kid. When the going gets tough, he ramps up his game. It's really hard to find guys that have that combination of offensive skill. He can do a lot of things one-on-one, but he's got that competitiveness. He's a big kid, and he's not afraid to go to the net and really play a two-way game. So you add it all up, and it's quite an impressive package.
Congratulations, Stan. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Elliott.
Berkey?
Well, Joe Sakic's been very active on the floor here. Talked to Mark Bergevin. He's been working the floor hard. Talked to Lou Lamoriello. I don't think he's made a deal like this on the floor before. Talked to Dale Talon, I guess that is. But he's making a lot of noise here. I think they're going to pick. My guess, I can't see them going by the defenseman, by Byram, but who knows?
On behalf of the Colorado Avalanche, we want to thank the Aquilini family, Vancouver Canucks organization, and the great fans of Vancouver for this tremendous week we've had. It's great to be home. With our 4th pick, Colorado Avalanche are proud to select from the Vancouver Giants, Bowen Byram.
They love Burnaby Joe here in Vancouver at Rogers Arena, and they love this pick. Bowen Byram, Sam Cosentino, defenseman from the Vancouver Giants goes 4th overall. Colorado's done well with 4th overall picks in defense. But think Cale Makar from a couple of seasons ago. It's been said he might be the best offensive prospect on the blue line from the Western Hockey League since Scott Niedermayer.
Yeah, I'd say that's a very fair assessment. When I look at this guy, his 26 goals to lead all CHL defensemen this year. But what's more impressive about him? 9 of those were game winners, and he always got the opportunity in overtime. This guy scored 6 game winners in overtime. But what scouts really like about it, yeah, we like the offense, we like the fact that he can jump up on the rush, he can support the rush, but he's got a little bite, he's got a little edge, and he gets ticked off. When his team loses, he gets ticked off when one of his teammates gets taken advantage of. And they love that little bite, that behind the play, hey, you're not going to mess with me. I love what Colorado's done with their young D. Samuel Girard looks like he's going to be a stud. Makar, stud. Everyone's forgetting about Connor Timmins, and now they add Bowen Byram to the mix. This is a group of 4 that if Timmins gets healthy down the road, a really tough group to compare to the rest of the league.
Projected all along to be the first defenseman taken in this year's draft. He indeed is, and you look at that, adding to what they already have with the Avalanche. This is a complete defenseman here. That's the thing Bowen Byram brings, is that he does everything. He's physical. You talked about the edge, but it's to compete for him off the charts. He wants to win every night. He plays with that passion. Just an excellent pick by the Avalanche.
Berkey, we know you love Big D.
He's a one-man breakout, but a lot of guys are only 2 zones. They dump it in or dump it off. He can carry the puck into the offensive zone, take it behind the net, make plays. His dad had a lengthy pro career. This is a great pick.
His dad, Sean, was drafted by the New York Islanders back in 1986, 5 NHL games with the Islanders and the Chicago Blackhawks. What does this mean for Bowen Byram? Can he step in and play next season?
I don't know if you'd want to do that. I mean, if you look at Makar, you look at Girard, and maybe Timmins, whatever he ends up doing. But I think he's a guy you just want to continue the season. And what I look at when I'm looking at Bowen Byram is the fact that he worked under Michael Dick, who was his coach in minor hockey, and Jamie Heward, very key in his development, assistant coach with the Giants.
Let's get down to Tara Slow now, standing by with Bowen Byram. Tara.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, the BC GM picks the BC boy. Bowen, what does it mean to have all this happening in your home province and the city where you play?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Vancouver's definitely become a second home to me since I started playing here in junior. So have lots of friends and family here. So yeah, I'm very excited right now.
One of the people who have been shepherding you through your entire hockey career is your coach, Michael Dick. You've been playing with him at various times since you were 10 years old. Tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, I played spring hockey with his team for a long time, and then I played bantam there. Now, obviously, he's my coach in the Western League, so he's been incredible for my development as a player and as a person. So I can't thank him enough for everything.
And of course, your dad played 15 years pro. When did he know, or how did he know when to sort of back off as a coach and just be dad?
Yeah, I think when I had the opportunity to go to Lethbridge and get coached by Mike Dick, my dad was really confident in what Mike does. So it made it a real easy decision. And I mean, now I have the best hockey dad in the world. So.
Well, your hockey dad is standing by with Dan Murphy. Dan, over to you.
Tara, thank you. Sean, your son just called you the best hockey dad in the world. You had your moment in '86 when you were drafted. How does this moment compare to then?
I think any parent would admit that when your kids do well, it's so much more satisfying than your own accomplishments. It's a dream come true for him. We've sacrificed a lot as a family, and we're just really proud of him as a kid and how he's handled himself off the ice, and of course we're very proud of him on the ice.
Plays his junior hockey in Vancouver. His favorite players growing up, Alex Burrows and Sedin twins. Does it mean any more that it was in this building?
I think it does. I'm from the prairies originally, so I maybe shouldn't say this on TV, but British Columbia is our home, and it's been really nice to have it here. We have probably more people than normal here because of that. It's handy for everyone, but it's been really special. And for him to have played here with Ron to Toigo, it adds to the whole thing.
Congratulations. Enjoy the moment.
Thanks.
Jeff.
Murph, thanks. Dad's happy. So is Mom. Have a look at the reactions. Hey, I'm just here for the reactions from the parents, and this one is a delightful one. Congratulations to the Byram family. Bowen Byram, defenseman for the Vancouver Giants, goes 4th overall to the Colorado Avalanche. Next up, the Los Angeles Kings. They've drafted a lot of forwards in the last couple of seasons. Do they look for a defenseman or stick with that theme? The answer in moments here at the NHL Draft 2019. Rogers Arena in Vancouver. LA picks 5th overall.
On behalf of the LA Kings, we want to thank Francesco Aquilini and Jim Benning in the great city of Vancouver for hosting us. Thank you very much. We want to say a shout out to our fans in Los Angeles, especially our season seat holder at our downtown draft party. And Tony Gasparini will do the pick for us.
The Los Angeles Kings are proud to select from the United States Hockey League, Alex Turcotte.
USA.
Second player from the U.S. National Team Development Program, Alex Turcotte, gets selected. Injuries, the story for Alex Turcotte, Sam, the early part of the season. Second half of the season, he turned it on big time.
Yeah, no question. And the hallmark of his game is the fact that he's a 200-foot player, that he brings compete to all three zones on the ice. Yet when he gets in the offensive zone, he has that ability to be able to produce at more than a point per game rate. I think the injuries really taught him a lot, not only about himself and his ability to come back, but it also allowed him a step back to be able to assess what's going on in the game, to learn more about the game. The face-offs are so important in today's game, and this is an area in which Alex Turcotte excels. When you're talking about centers, we knew this was going to be a center-heavy draft. There he is working on the strong side. Face-off such a key part of the game. You want to start with the puck. You want to have as much puck possession as you possibly can, and when you get a center who wins draws the way Alex Turcotte can win draws, that's going to go a long way into your team having a great amount of success. You have to love this pick. The fact that he's got NHL bloodlines with his father, having played some games in the National Hockey League, always a benefit to have that because they're not fazed by what's in front of them.
He's been around this his whole life. I mean, Alfie was a really talented player himself, his dad, and now he's picked up right where he left off. You talk about compete, right? When you say all these players have a competitive nature, this guy has the ultra-competitive nature, and from his teammates' perspective at the Combine this year, he was brought up a lot. He's one of those guys that talks in the room. He's energetic. He hates to lose at everything, and that's probably why he's so good at the face-offs. This guy wants to win everything he does, and that'll carry forward nicely into the National Hockey League for him.
Berkey, Bergeron, O'Reilly, Taves, some Dylan Larkin. There's some pretty high-end comparables for this young man.
He's got that same motor. He's got a high compete level, but he's got a higher skill level than some of those guys did their draft year. He's actually more creative, makes small area plays. He's fearless for a medium-sized player. He goes to all the dangerous areas on the rink. I love this kid.
All right, there's the pick for the Los Angeles Kings. Alex Turcotte, second-generation player. His father, Alfie, selected in the first round by Montreal. So here's what's happened so far. Jack Hughes goes first overall to the New Jersey Devils. Capo Caco second to the New York Rangers. And going third, have a look at the hugs and the smiles. Kirby Bach. Los Angeles Kings select Alex Turcotte, fifth overall for the United States National Team Development Program. Let's head down to the side of the... Let's not go down to Tara Slone right now. Alex Turcotte is now a member of the Los Angeles Kings. Next up, the Detroit Red Wings will select number 6. And this is an interesting spot here, Sam. There are a lot of decisions for Steve Yzerman, new general manager for Detroit.
You know, I like the point that Brian made off the top of the broadcast, that he's exposed to two lists. He can bring his Tampa list. He can look at what he's doing there. But here's a guy, Steve Yzerman, who's been doing a lot of scouting on his own. And so not only does he have the benefit of two lists, but a lot of in-person viewings as well.
Hold on to more thoughts there about the Detroit Red Wings. Now let's head down to the floor. Tara Slone standing by with Alex Turcotte. Tara?
Yes, Jeff, we've got him, and this guy is breathing a sigh of relief. What was today like leading up to this moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You're feeling a bunch of emotions. You're excited, you're anxious, you're nervous, and you know, it's definitely something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, but I'm for sure happy it's over now. So.
The panel was just talking about what a great hockey player your dad was, and your grandfather is a legend in the coaching and teaching world. What do you think you got out of growing up in that kind of hockey environment?
Yeah, I think they taught me everything on the ice, and my skill, I think that all comes from them, and they coach me all the way up, and just how to be a good person too off the ice, and how to be respectful, and they've been through the game, so they know how it works, and definitely having those two guys around only helped me. So.
Well, and I know how much this night means to you, your family, and your friends. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Back to Jeff.
Okay, and here's why, a little peek behind the curtain here. Here's why he was late for his interview with Tara. Had to put the name on the back of the jersey. There it is. Turcotte looks fine over the shoulders. All right, Steve Yzerman, Detroit Red Wings, this team selects 6th.
With the 6th pick in the draft, the Detroit Red Wings select from Mannheim of the DEL, Moritz Seider.
Whoa! Valentino, we have our first shock of the draft. Moritz Seider of Mannheim. In Mannheim, they call him the Diamond. Outstanding defensive prospect, but I don't know anyone who thought he was going 6, Sammy.
Nobody had a huge rise. If you go back to the Combine, it's a great story, actually. Lou and I had the chance to meet him underneath. And you go back to the Combine, yeah, he tested well, but where he showed was his personality. And you can remember talking about Dennis Royer, who was his mentor in Mannheim, a former Boston pick. And he's talking about Royer, this guy's an animal, he's a beast, he works out like crazy. And I point, you mean like Louis? He says, no. And he goes, this guy's like a real beast, like this guy's a man. And he's saying that to Louis DeBrusque, and I'm saying this guy's going to start swinging here in a minute. But when it comes to this young player, here's the thing that he's done best all year, his ability to adapt. He goes to play with his peer group, he's a leader. He starts to produce offensively. He goes back to Mannheim, he settles his game down, he's more reserved, he's more efficient, takes care of business in his own end first. And then he had the opportunity to play at the Worlds, so now he's playing against men again, and then he shows a bit of an offensive side while doing that. I love his adaptability, you love his character, and you know he's just a cool, calm cat who's going to make it.
Research brought to you by Instat. Big data wins games. This one's a shocker, Lou. This really is the highest drafted German player since Leon Draisaitl. And for the second year in a row, Dominic Bacco's last year, we have a German selected in the first round.
And you know what? I know, Sam, you like this kid a lot. You made a point of going over and introducing me to him. We had a real great conversation. This kid has a ton of charisma, and he's just a real neat individual. You know what? The thing that stands out for me, though, is his size. This is a big human being that's going to really grow into that body. And I agree. There's a ceiling that's really unknown with this player, with Seider. He could really be one of those guys that steps in and finds his game in the National Hockey League. And I'll tell you what, 6th overall, I didn't see that coming in, but I like this kid a lot.
Brian Burke, you've talked about the rise of German hockey and the German hockey player for 10 years now. Your thoughts?
I think they could have traded down and drafted this kid 4 picks lower. I don't get this. I like the player. All the scouts talk about how athletic he is, his basic athletic ability. Mannheim's a great program. The Germans are doing a great job. You can get this guy at 4 picks later at 10.
They saw the player. They wanted the player. Fitness freak. His head coach in Mannheim, Pavel Gross, is a fitness freak. The team travels with a truck just with squat racks on it. Here's Tara Sloan with Seider.
And Morris just said, whoa, you interviewed with 31 teams at the Combine. Did you have a sense that this is where you were going to go?
Honestly, I had no idea. I mean, I was so happy just to be at the Combine. I mean, it's not usual for German guys selected in the first round, so I was so pumped, so excited. I mean, it's an unbelievable moment for my whole family and myself.
You were also joking at the Combine that you didn't bring the proper attire. You only had running shoes, so I guess you've made up for it here. Is the bow tie your standard look?
I mean, not really, but after that, I mean, at the Combine, I had to show up. I had to be real in fashion, so I bought a really nice suit, a nice bow and tie, so I think everything is fine so far.
And how are they celebrating in Germany tonight?
Yeah, there's a big draft party for all the German guys in my team. They woke up at 2 o'clock local time in Germany, celebrating unbelievable things. So yeah, I think they are so happy now.
Well, you're so happy now, and rightly so. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, back to you.
You know, guys, one of the curious things about Seider is where does he play next season?
His rights are owned.
His rights are owned by Owen Sound of the OHL for junior hockey. Does he go to the AHL? Does he go back to Germany? Mannheim's cranking out some high-end players.
They got great resources to develop players there.
Here's Elliott with Steve Yzerman.
All right, Steve, the first true curveball of the draft. What did you see?
Well, it's not a curveball in our estimate, but I know Moritz wasn't rated highly in all the mock drafts, but we felt, the top 5 kind of went as we thought it would, and it was only an educated guess. And after that, this next group of players, whether they're forwards, wingers, centers, or D-men, there's a good group, and we thought it could go in a lot of different directions. Ultimately, we had a chance to get a big, intelligent, smart, good skating defenseman, and we feel they're hard to find. So, we stepped up and took him.
Saw you chatting with him quickly as you walked down the stairs, then just before he sat down with Tara. Anything in particular you said to him right away as he joins the NHL?
No. I'd spent some time with him yesterday, spent some time in Buffalo with him, enjoyed talking to him. He's a very personable young man, so we just chatted a little bit.
Next pick is up, Steve. Congratulations.
Thanks, Valley. Appreciate it.
North American Central was the only one that I saw that had him at number 5, them and Detroit. Here's the Buffalo Sabres.
The Buffalo Sabres are pleased to select from Whitehorse and Lethbridge of the WHL, Dylan Cousins.
And with that, Sam Cosentino, history is made. The first player from the Yukon selected in the first round, Dylan Cousins, goes to the Buffalo Sabres.
He jumped off the page a couple of years ago when, as a 15-year-old, he went right into Lethbridge's lineup after his season was over, and in the playoffs proceeded to put up 8 points in 12 games there, helping the Lethbridge Hurricanes to the Eastern Conference Final. They went back to the Eastern Conference Final last year, and then this year, over a point per game. I love the fact that this guy left home at such a young age, because in the Yukon, he couldn't find the level of competition that was going to make him a better player. So he said, I'm going to go and move to a center that has more competition and better coaching. He did that, and it worked out pretty well. The one thing that jumps out about his game is his speed from the right side. Now, will he play center or wing at the next level? That's still to be determined. He did get some time in a different role playing at the Hlinka Gretzky in August and felt like he adapted to that role well in more of a shutdown situation. He has the speed to do that. But is he going to play center at the next level? I think that would be the great question. The one backup plan is his great skating ability.
The way when he scores his first goal in the NHL, he will become the first player from Yukon to do so. And when that happens, then every province and territory will have produced a player that scored a goal in the NHL. Where are you at on Cousins?
Really remarkable. And he talked about that pressure coming from there and being maybe the first guy. And you know what? Good on him. You know, he accepts that and he relishes in that. You can't, you know, look at this player, not talk about the size and speed combination. He's almost 6'4", and he can fly, and he's got an engine that doesn't quit. To me, that's NHL in the making, and he's a terrific pick. But what a remarkable story for Dylan Cousins. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility, as I said, that he takes upon himself. He's a mature young man.
This kid with minor hockey in Whitehorse, when he was 12, he broke his leg playing against grown men. They didn't have a big league for kids his age. The rep team played against men, beer league guys. Yep. He broke his leg. This guy's got a real good chance.
It's interesting, and have a look at players from Yukon to the NHL. Hazen McAndrew, 7 games. Peter Sturgeon, who played 6 games with the Colorado Rockies, later went on to become the GM of the Mississauga Ice Dogs in 1998. Brian Baltimore as well, 2 games with the Oilers back in 79-80. Let's head down south to the floor to talk to the man from up north.
The man from up north is very, very excited. I'm just going to bring this up. This was sent to us by your agent, and this is a letter that you wrote, I don't know to whom, when you were about 10 years old, and it says, when I was 16, I want to be in the WHL. I plan to get there by training hard, shooting, stick handling, practicing every day. When I'm 20, I want to be in the NHL. I plan to get there by training hard, shooting, stick handling, practicing every day. Dylan. So that's been your mantra for quite a long time. Is that how you got here?
Yeah, just lots of hard work and so much support. My family sacrificed so much for me to get to this point, and I owe so much to them. And, you know, just every day, just working as hard as I can to make the dream come true.
Well, we caught this on your Instagram account, you and your dad on Father's Day catching the fish. How important is it, and has it been during this really crazy process, to just do things like that and touch base with your family and nature?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's definitely really crazy, and there's so many thoughts going through your mind all the time, and just be able to get away and, you know, relax, sit on the boat, have no service, and just spend time with my family. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Well, congratulations. Soak it all in.
Thank you so much.
That is one big fish, Jeff.
And that is one big pick for the Buffalo Sabres. Another big pick is on the horizon here now for Ken Holland, the newly installed general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. And the Edmonton Oilers have been very busy as of late, working the floor. Is there a deal here? Is there a deal there? Ken Holland not shy about making them. He's got a big job ahead of him here, guys, as he tries to retool this team and get them back into the playoffs ASAP. And this pick, 8th overall, will go a long way to that end. What do we look for here, Sam? You've talked a lot about Phillip Roberge.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to note that when you come from an organization that's had a lot of success with Swedish players and you have their list, and then you move to a new organization and you're able to get the input from the scouting staff that was already in place to see what they do actually come up with here. I think I look at the Detroit pick I think a lot of people were surprised in the building. I don't know if we're going to be quite as surprised with what we see from Edmonton.
Louis, you talked about Broberg at the outset. Hold that thought, Berkey.
I can't go by that fish. That fish is unbelievable. That's a great lake trout. We got to talk about the fish.
We'll get back to the fish. Let's talk about the Swedish defenseman. Do we expect Broberg here, Louis? You've talked about it all week.
I mean, he's there. He's one of the players they certainly liked, and he said we're going to get a very good player at 8 if he's still there. Yeah, there's no question he's on their list and probably going to be the guy they're going to pick.
Last year they selected Evan Bouchard, defenseman from the London Knights. We'll see if they go for another D now, as the Edmonton Oilers are poised to make the 8th overall selection, 2019 NHL Draft.
With the 8th pick in the draft, the Edmonton Oilers select from AIK Sweden, Phillip Roberge.
Sam Cosentino, the Oilers go with the Swedish defenseman.
An absolutely fascinating year for this young man. When we showed up in August at the Hlinka Gretzky in Edmonton Red Deer, you couldn't find this guy on anyone's list anywhere. He was nowhere to be found. Well, he started lugging the puck around, and people are saying, oh, wait a sec, this guy's pretty good. He left that tournament, and as a result of that, everyone was making him a top 10 pick. He had 5 points in 4 games. And then he came back to regular league play. He was tough to find there. He ends up making the World Junior team only because Timothy Liljegren was hurt. He played at the back end of the bus there. Not overly impressive was his game there. He got sick at the end. He brought that sickness back with him to Sweden, bounced between the under-20 and the Allsvenskan, and couldn't find any comfort in his game. He was putting too much pressure on himself with the young players and not enough pressure when playing with the older players. And finally, at the end of the year, he got back with his peer group at the World Under-18s, and he absolutely lit it up. You have to love the bookends to his season. He was named the defenseman of the tournament at the Under-18s. So essentially, he goes from a nobody to a top 10 to a nobody, and here he is now at number 8 overall.
He's the bookend player for you, Sam Cosentino.
I'll say it, the best forward skating defenseman in the draft this year. This guy can absolutely fly at 6'3", and people say, wait a second, defenseman skating forward? It's absolutely imperative to be able to skate forward now in the National Hockey with how fast the game is, going back for pucks, closing on defense. This guy the ceiling is limitless for him, and I think that's why he's been picked so high, because he has the frame, he has the speed. Can he fill into that and play that at the National Hockey League?
Berkey, I know you have Doc's, or you have Brother Dylan Cousins' fish on your mind right now, but give us your thoughts on the Swedish defenseman.
Well, his interview with Calgary Flames, Brad Treliving said, I wanted to ask him for his passport to double-check his birthday. He thought it was Cuban Little League stuff. The kid came off like a 22-year-old. He is, in fact, the best forward-skating defenseman in this draft, and he's just going to get better. He's scratching the surface.
Does this address the most pressing need for the Edmonton Oilers guys? Help on the back end?
You know what? Moving forward, I think they're in pretty good shape. I look at a guy like Caleb Jones. I look at William Lagesson, who had a really good year in Bakersfield. Ethan Bear, and of course Evan Bouchard. Add this guy to the mix. I think they're well appointed here on the back end for the future.
Let's hear from the defenseman now, standing by with Tara Sloan. Tara.
Jeff, you know, when we met with Phillip at the draft combine in Buffalo, he was telling us about a regret that he had in his life, and it was about not saying hello to one of his favorite hockey players. So, Phillip, watch this.
Phillip, welcome to the NHL. Phillip, stort välkommen till NHL. Hey, I know, by the way, you should have come over when you saw me in public. I would have said hello. Congratulations, buddy. Good luck.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think your chances of running into him again are pretty good. How are you feeling right now? That was a lot of applause over there.
Yeah, it's just an unbelievable feeling to get drafted. This is what you dream about all your life, so it's an honor to be an Oilers now.
You were a centerman until you wanted to get into a hockey camp that had too many forwards and you became a defenseman. What happened there?
Yeah, it was the coach there that, he basically said that you become a better defenseman one day and then you'll be center. So I took his advice and I'm happy with my decision.
As you should be. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Here's Elliott now with Ken Holland.
Thank you, Tara. Ken, he had a really up and down roller coaster year. What made him the guy in your mind?
Well, he played real good. I was at the World Championships, World Under-18s. I watched him play. Played very, very well. He's a 6'3" defenseman with skill. They're hard to find. So we're excited. We interviewed him a number of times and did our research. We think we've got a real good player.
I wanted to ask you, just what's the last couple of weeks been like? You're new at the job. Edmonton's got big hopes on you. Just the preparation for this particular pick.
I don't know if I'm new at the job, but I'm certainly new in Edmonton.
That's fair. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited. It's a great opportunity, passionate fan base. Obviously there's some great building blocks, great foundation there. We've got to build around it, and I'm excited, and I know there's a challenge. Running an NHL team is a challenge for all 31 teams. So there's different challenges in every city. So I'm excited about the opportunity, and looking forward to try to build Edmonton into a legitimate Stanley Cup contender.
Well, enjoy the new market, if not the new job. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thanks.
Jeff?
Okay, so that's a big one for Ken Holland. The Anaheim Ducks have 2 first-round picks. Last time that happened, 2016, they took Max Jones and Sam Steele, 2 CHLers. We'll see which way Bob Murray and crew go this time. Pick number 9, the Anaheim Ducks.
With the 9th selection, Anaheim was proud to select from the USA Development Program, Trevor Zegras.
And smiles all around. Trevor Zegras goes to the Anaheim Ducks at 9th overall. He is a center, can also play the wing. Versatile, and in some ways, Lou, sort of compares to Pat Kane.
He really does. You know what? I said aside from Jack Hughes, this guy might be the most offensively gifted guy in the draft, and especially on passing. This guy finds seams and lanes unlike many players can do, and he does it with poise. So you watch Patrick Kane here, and he just little fake, puts it through cross diagonal, little spinorama pass for a tap-in backdoor to DeBrincat. Now watch Zegras through the legs, no looker to Turcotte. Boom, it's in the back of the net right there. I mean, he has eyes in the back of his head. He can make those plays in a flash, and ultra confident with the puck on his stick. He's a flashy player, no question.
Sam, his no-look spinorama pass is something that everybody has to see. Where are you at on this young man's skill set?
Well, you have to think a couple of plays ahead, a couple of seconds ahead, and you have to be very well aware of who you are on the ice with and who's defending against you. That's an innate skill, and that's a tough thing to come by. Look at his World Under-18s, tied for second. He had 9 assists there. But the one thing that really stuck out to me when we sat down and met him, this is a guy who knows he's going to be an NHL player. Like, there is no doubt about it. He walks into the room, he's got a little swagger going, he's got that cock of the walk, and you know what? I think that plays well if you're trying to make it onto a team and trying to tell everyone that you're the best guy and prove everyone else that they took ahead of him wrong.
And for some young kids watching, this kid was a multiple sport athlete his whole life. This is not a guy who played hockey 12 months. We try to stress that when they did it. He played lacrosse, tennis, soccer, golf, baseball. Said lacrosse in particular helped develop his hand-eye coordination. He was a down-low shooter. We shouldn't lose sight of that. When a guy gets to this level and is a multi-sport athlete, I think it helps him a lot.
U.S. program now has 3 players selected in the first round. The next one will be a record for this program. Do you like this pick for the Anaheim Ducks specifically, Sam, and how close is Zegras to playing in the NHL?
Yeah, no question I really like the pick, but when you consider what's happened so far, 5 of the first 9 players selected are centers, and that's what we talked about prognosticating this draft, that it was center deep. We're especially seeing that here at the high end, but we're looking at being able to pick up your speed and pick up your playmaking ability. This is a guy who can do it. It's interesting to note that when Bob Murray went behind the bench, not only had he already assessed what was happening in his organization at the American Hockey League level, but he got a feel for what was going on the NHL bench and felt that with that information, this was a pick he wanted to make.
Moving to head coach for the Anaheim Ducks, Dallas Aikens on stage this other, hired last week by the squad. We're standing by for the Vancouver Canucks. They're poised to make the next pick, so this place is going to explode here at Rogers Arena. As we mentioned off the top, the draft has been hosted by Vancouver twice. The last 2 times they have selected Peter Nedved in 1990, Michael Grabner in 2006. This is a big decision for the Vancouver Canucks, Sam.
Yeah, no question. You want to make that splash in front of your fans. And, you know, with what's the excitement that's been created with Quinn Hughes, you look at Brock Besser before that, Bo Horvat, they're starting to put together a nice homegrown talent base here. And this next piece is going to go a long way into seeing if the Vancouver Canucks can take it the next step, get into the playoffs under Travis Green.
There's a lot of building blocks in place already for the Vancouver Canucks, guys.
They started to get up to go make their pick. Now, I talked to Jim Benning on the floor, and he said there's the guys there they like, and they're going to pick with this pick unless the guy is slipped by and there's 2 or 3 names, in which case they'd move down. But I believe they're going to pick, and I really like the way they're going here. They've added real key pieces. They've done a sneaky rebuild, much like Detroit's done. They've worked kids in and done a sneaky rebuild. Re-signing Alex Edler yesterday, in my opinion, is a big building block. They're going the right way.
The team that hasn't won a playoff round going back to the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, and they pick in the top 10 for the 4th consecutive draft. You wonder what's up Jim Benning's sleeve. No matter what it is, Sam, Louis, Brian, the roof is going to come off this place when this kid gets picked. Jim Benning and the Vancouver Canucks on the clock and getting on the stage now. You wonder what happens here, whether they take a risk. Is it a long shot, or do they go to the safe, guaranteed route? This one could be an interesting one for the Vancouver Canucks.
Vancouver is proud to host the NHL and its club members to the 2019 draft. I'd like to acknowledge our season ticket holders and our fans here in Rogers Arena and everywhere else. I'd like to thank you for your passion and your support. The 2019, the Vancouver Canucks draft from St. Petersburg of the KHL, Vasily Podstrofev.
Sider was a shock going to the Detroit Red Wings at 5. Podkolzin going to Vancouver at 10. Give us some context here, Sam. Should we be surprised at this pick?
An absolute steal in my mind. He's a top 5 player in this draft class. There are no holes in this young man's game, and he's got a whole lot to compete. He plays a North American style of game. Here's a couple of the sneaky things I like about this guy. He's playing in February at the Five Nations tournament. One of his teammates gets taken advantage of, and you'll see Podkolzin, he witnessed the whole thing, so he skated around the ice. You know what? I'm going to exact a little revenge. He tried to do that. He got taken to the ice, so now he's really ticked off. So what does he do? He gets up. Yeah, you want to have a little word with me? Yeah, no problem. And he throws a headbutt his way. And then here at the World Junior A Challenge, sorry about that. I think I'll take the opening ceremonial draw and give it right back. That little bite, that little edge speaks compete to me. What's interesting to me is he played for Valery Brogin, the head coach for the Russian World Junior team, who never relies on young players in big moments. He did that all throughout the World Juniors. Yes, he only had 3 points there, but he played in the penalty kill, played in the final minute of the period, defensive zone draws, and I think that 2-year contract, you can throw it away. He likely wasn't going to play in the NHL next year, so you know what? Let him go back home, feel comfortable, let's keep an eye on him developmentally, and then see what happens after year 1.
Great point about Valery Brogin. At the World Juniors, he played Podkolzin 14 minutes a night. Berkey.
This is a man. This is not a boy. This guy can play right now. He's under contract for 2 years with St. Petersburg. They are notoriously difficult to negotiate with. He's probably going to do the 2 years. There's a lot of speculation in the last 72 hours that he might be able to get out of one of the 2 years. But this guy, if he was not under contract, he's a top 5 pick. So at this point in the draft, on this point in the list, he's a steal. I'm with Sammy. This guy's going to play right away when he does get over here.
You know, it's sometimes challenging, guys, to have a look and evaluate players when they bounce around so many leagues, KHL, VHL, and you look at the world international tournaments that he's played in. It wasn't as if he was, Sam, in one place long enough to get a real feel.
Yeah, that hat trick in the bronze medal game at the Lincoln carried through to a pretty good under-18s, especially his last 2 games.
Big one for the Vancouver Canucks. The general manager is standing by with Elliott.
Jim, there were a lot of teams that said this guy was undoubtedly one of the best players available, but they were scared off by the 2 years. Why weren't you scared off?
Well, the way we looked at it, no matter who we picked at that spot, probably needed 2 years of development anyway. So we're excited to get him. He's strong on the puck. He takes pucks to the net. He'll give us a dimension that we don't have in our young players, somebody that can protect the puck. He's a good two-way player, and we're really excited to get him at 10.
You know, Jim, there's been a lot of talk about you keeping this pick, moving somewhere else, doing something else. Do you have a splash in you besides the draft pick?
Well,
we're real happy with getting Vasily at 10. We're going to continue to talk to teams and look at all of our options, and we'll see.
All right. Thanks very much, Jim.
Thanks.
Jeff?
Okay, so the Philadelphia Flyers are up next. We just saw Stan Smeel a second ago use the cheat sheet. Have a look at the name Vasily Podkolzin before it was announced. And you wonder, have a look.
Draft from St. Petersburg of the KHL.
Cheat sheet.
Vasily Podkolzin.
We all recall back in 2006, the last time the draft was in Vancouver, this with Bobby Clark. Maybe there were some players he wanted, Trevor Lewis, Bobby Sanguinetti, that he didn't get, so he went up to the stage a little bit angry, but you can't help but wonder, maybe that was a tribute in some ways by Stan Smeel to Bobby Clark. Philadelphia Flyers are next on the board, but there seems to be a pause here, guys. You wonder if we may have a trade.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone's trying to get this pick and get the goaltender. That's great call. That's, if you're going to move down here, you're either looking at the next guy on your list or you're jumping the queue and trying to get Spencer Knight. And that, I have no idea if that's what's going to happen, but that's what I think could be in play here.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I look at a team like Florida, who's rumored to wanting to be taking Knight. Even Minnesota at 12, there was some talk about taking the goaltender there. If he were, for example, to get down past that, 16, Colorado with its second pick would be another target for me. So I thought you'd have to get into 10 to ensure you get the goaltender, but maybe that number here is 11.
All right, sounds like we do have a trade here between the Philadelphia Flyers, and we'll find out to see who that's with, whether there are players involved or this is just a swap of picks, but I don't think anybody expects the Flyers to go up on stage. And here we go. Here's the commissioner.
Oh, now you like me. Philadelphia trades the number 11 pick in this year's draft, the pick that's pending, to Arizona for the number 14 pick in this year's draft, and the number 45 pick in this year's draft. Philadelphia trades 11 to Arizona for 14 and 45, all in the 2019 draft. Arizona, you're on the clock.
Okay, so there's the trade, gentlemen. It is for picks. It is the swap. The 11th pick overall goes to Arizona. John Chaika now on the clock, and the Coyotes, they surrender pick number 14. So Philadelphia slides down 3. Also the second pick, and that is the 45th overall selection.
I'm a little bit surprised here, because when you look at the picks Philadelphia has, a second, 2 third rounds, a fourth, a fifth, 2 sixth round picks, 2 seventh round picks. I mean, they have an abundance of picks. I guess if you're a new general manager, the more picks, the merrier to get off onto a right foot.
Well, this is good value. You move down just a couple picks and you pick up a good second round pick. This is good value. And obviously Arizona's got a player that they wanted to ensure they got. Chuck Fletcher's been the busiest GM in the last week. This is continuing that tradition or that practice right now. I'll be curious who Arizona takes, but I like the value that Philly got for the pick.
We talked off the top of the theme of this year's draft being open for business, and not by a long shot do we think that Fletcher's done with this squad.
No, I agree. I agree. You'll see more of this in this round. These players are too compact. This group of players is too close together that you won't see more of this.
I think at 45, Jeff, what you're looking at is a player in the middle of the second round, that there are going to be a player there on some team's list that they would have had in the first round. So I agree with getting that additional value.
All right, a number of players still available, a number from the United States Development Program. There's some defensemen led by Victor Soderstrom. Could be the pick here for the Arizona Coyotes. We will stand by. But nonetheless, a trade between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Arizona Coyotes. We'll see John Chaika jump up 3, make a selection for the Arizona Coyotes.
You know, higher there was Lindsay Hofford, who had worked with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He'd worked with the London Knights in the Ontario Hockey League, and he came in and he simply changed everything that Arizona was doing from a scouting perspective. They lean heavily on the analytics. They lean heavily on the mindset, the growth mindset. They do a lot of psychological testing on the players, but they also like the human eye, the human element, where they can go out and watch a player. There's a lot of different things that's been put into the pot here for Arizona under Lindsay Hofford's guidance as the head scout.
They've drafted a lot of forwards lately. Is it time to go back and have a look at some young defensemen here for the Arizona Coyotes?
Very well could be. You know, definitely an option for John Chaika to look at that in that regard. I mean, I agree with you, Brian. The goaltender is appealing. If you're going to step up and take one, he's the guy to take in this first round, but we'll see what they do here. Could certainly try and bolster that back end with some young defensemen.
And I think if you look at this chart, the fact that Colorado took a defenseman supports the theory that you take the best athlete available. They don't need a young defenseman as much as they need a young forward, but they took the best player on the board, who was a young defenseman.
All right, Arizona Coyotes are in place. The pick is next, 11th overall by the Coyotes. John Chayka.
Hello to our fans watching back home. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you to the City of Vancouver, the Aquilini family, Jim Benning, the entire Canucks organization for being tremendous hosts. Making our selection will be our Assistant General Manager, Lindsay Hofford.
Arizona Coyotes are proud to select from Brynäs in the Swedish Hockey League, Victor Soderstrom.
All right, there you go. And the speculation, Sam, it's a Swedish defenseman, and they jumped up 3 spots to get him.
Well, here's a guy who has an all-around game, and I'll harken back to what Brian was saying earlier, and the fact that this guy is a great golfer, a 4 handicap, so having that multi-sport ability as part of your growing up, I think, is really key. It's really important. His dad, Jonas, is a coach in the Brynäs system, so he's been around the pro game for a long time. But when it comes to his play, it's that two-way ability, the ability to work the point, be able to get shots through, defend with a really good gap, and a guy who, on all 3 zones on the ice, can bring you something. What's interesting about this player, I don't know if there's that one dynamic thing, maybe his feet, you would say, that jumps out above the rest of what he does, but there's no question you're getting an all-around two-way guy here at a very coveted position.
Not a highly skilled offensive player, but a real good defender who, as Sam mentioned, Louis, can really move his feet.
Great mobility, but with that mobility maybe comes an upside of offense when you go to the smaller ice surface in the National Hockey League. We've seen a lot of Swedish-born defensemen, and look at last year, 5 taken in the first round. This is the 2nd Swedish-born defenseman taken already in this first round. For me, a right-handed shot, this is an easy pick for me for the Arizona Coyotes. A guy that comes in, he's going to have poise. Oliver Ekman-Larsson in Arizona is going to be a mentor to this young individual.
Absolutely.
He's a skilled defenseman that can move, and there's certainly an upside again, and that's what you're picking when you're picking 18-year-olds.
Multi-sport athlete again, floorball, karate, soccer, and golf. This guy's got a hockey IQ that goes off the charts. When you talk to the scouts, he defends like a piece of flypaper. Other people keep a gap away the guy with the puck. He is right on them. His feet are that good. His head is that good. He can play a foot off a guy with the puck and still be responsible. The best two-way defenseman probably in the draft, and he's mature. He knows he needs to go back for another year. He's not coming over next year no matter what.
I like the fact that in our conversations with him, he said, guys, it's easier to play in the SHL because he started and wasn't expected. He was in the under-20 league there. He got brought up to the SHL, ended up playing 44 games there. He said the game's easier there because he was playing with better players.
17 minutes a night he was averaging.
All right, still to come. When we return, the Montreal Canadiens make their pick. Have a look at the always stylish Mark Bergevin. We all recall last year in Dallas, 3rd overall, they select Jesperi Kotkaniemi from Finland. Some fans liked it, and some really did not. Montreal picks next.
Trust me, I know it's hard, and you feel like running, but I see that.
Welcome back to the 2019 NHL entry draft from Vancouver. Now, this is a team that must have really wanted Victor Soderstrom, the Arizona Coyotes traded up to get you. Did you have a sense that they were sniffing around?
Yeah, a little bit. I talked to them a lot, but I wasn't sure that they were going to trade up to get me, but yeah, I'm really excited. It's a great organization, and yeah, I'm really happy right now.
Your family is all here to see this. Your dad, Jonas, coached you until you were 16 years old, and you said the best thing that he did was encourage you to have fun. What else did he teach you?
Well, I think he taught me almost everything about hockey. He's the reason why I started playing, and he means everything to me. He's best dad in the world.
Best dad in the world. That's a great title. Now, you were a competitive golfer. You also practiced karate. We're going to look at some pictures. Which of those 2 disciplines taught you the most and contributed to your hockey skill, perhaps?
I think both are very good. The karate was... I actually started with it after I saw the Karate Kid film. So, yeah. But, the golf, I played it since I was 10, I think. And, yeah, it's a great sport. It's fun to play with friends as well during the summer, and I still play it, so yeah, it's fun.
And with friends like Ricky Fowler, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations
to you. Thank you.
Jeff, back to you.
Sarah, thanks very much. So for the 2nd straight year, a defenseman from Brynäs went in the 1st round, Adam Boqvist last year, 8th the Chicago Blackhawks. Back in 2006 as well, when the draft was here in Vancouver, another player from Brynäs, Nicholas Backstrom, went 4th to the Washington Capitals. Paul Fenton's got a lot of business ahead of him. The first order of it is the next selection here, the 2019 NHL Draft. Where does Minnesota go? They like their American players. You wonder if someone from the program could be up next year, Sam Cosentino.
Yeah, and you think about Paul Fenton and his history with the Nashville Predators and doing such a great job selecting defensemen.
First of all, I'd like to say hello to our fans in the state of hockey, to our draft party at Tom Reed's, and with our selection from the U.S. Team National Development Program, we select Matt Baldy.
Matthew Baldy, left winger, 6'2", 200 pounds, who, Sam, had a really interesting season with the program. Wasn't necessarily just locked into one line. He played up and down the lineup. Louis at the U18s as well. This guy, Sean.
You know what I like about this player is obviously his size at 6'2". He grew a lot too, so he's a late bloomer. He's starting to fill out and starting to know how to use that size. And here's a goal at the U18s, and you watch his skating ability. He picks up a puck on the fly, and he just goes to town. The puck is out from his body, so being a big guy, he has the ability to still have control and strength with the puck away from his body. I like this player a lot. I think he has that combination of size, speed, and skill that just isn't that common. Nice addition for the Minnesota Wild.
Research brought to you by Instat. Big data wins big games. And now with that selection, a record has been broken. That is the fourth player for the U.S. National Team Development Program selected in the first round, Sam Cousins.
And this is a lot of what we expected from the program. John Wrobleski and his team, although they didn't win when it comes to tournament play, the individuals on this team is the greatest selection compilation put together by the U.S. Training and Development Program, and it continues. And I don't think we're done just yet with the players that'll be selected in the first round from that group.
Berkey?
This guy's a Swiss Army knife. We list him there that say his position's left wing. He can play either wing, and he can play from the first line down to the fourth line. He's big. He prides himself. He started to kill penalties the second half of the year. Really impressive interviews. Going to Boston College. Seth Appert from the U.S. National Program said, this kid puts on 15 pounds, he's going to be scary. That combination of foot speed and size and hands, wow.
To remind you a little bit of Mark Stone in that sense, Brian?
I think he's going to be a better skater than Mark Stone.
Skater.
Yep.
An elite skater.
I think he's going to be sorry, Mark, you're a great player, but this kid at this age, Mark Stone was an awful skater in junior, really labored. This kid's a good skater for a big man. He's going to grow. I really like this kid. What a pick this is.
The other thing that jumps out for me, too, as well, is he's played with really highly skilled players. He played with Jack Hughes, Zegras. That National Development Program has a ton of skill, and he blended right in with those guys and knew exactly where to go on the ice as a bigger guy on that line.
And they all wanted to play with him. I talked to Jerry York, the coach at Boston College, where he's going. He said every player there asked to play with him. Like, which side doesn't matter, right wing, left wing.
All right, let's hear from his father before we hear from him. Here's Todd Baldy with Dan Murphy.
Jeff, thank you. Todd, you were a football player growing up, collegiate football, so why did it become hockey for your son?
Well, when Matt was growing up, they didn't have a football program in the town that we were living in. His older brother, Mike, got into hockey. I was always a fan of hockey, so we went in that direction.
This U.S. Development Program now with 5 picks already. What do you think it's like for your son to be drafted with all the peers that he's played with?
It's unbelievable. Great opportunity for him. Just a great group of kids and athletes to come in the NHL.
Congratulations on the day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Jeff.
Thank you very much, Dan. So Matthew Baldy goes to the Minnesota Wild at 12th overall and the 4th player from the U.S. National Team Development Program. That is a new record. Who gets selected in the first round? Interesting now, this is the longest, Sam, that the QMJHL has not had a player selected in the first round going back to 2010 when Brandon Gormley went 13th to then Phoenix. More on that in a couple of seconds. Panthers poised to select, but let's hear from the player, Matthew Baldy with Tara Sloan.
Well, we heard from Matthew earlier saying his pregame meal is chicken parm. Were you too nervous to eat today, or did you have it?
No, I went with steak today, so just changed it up a little, but I mean, like you said, chicken parm's kind of my go-to, so.
Take it all in, live the high life. Your whole family is here to support you. In particular, you and your brother Mike are super competitive, but what kind of a support has he been to you through this process?
Yeah, I mean, he's been awesome. I think I've looked up to him my whole life. I think having him here with me, sitting next to me, I think it's awesome. Just unbelievable moment to share with him.
One of the things you're known for is your strong work ethic. Does that come from being the younger brother trying to keep up?
I mean, I think so. I think growing up, I was always trying to keep up with him and his friends. He's 4 years older, so it's kind of a big gap to keep up, but I think I owe a lot to him, and kind of just picking on me a little too much in the driveway probably helped me out in that department. So.
Well, I think you have one up on him right now. And finally, just sharing this night with your friends from the U.S. program, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I think going to have 7, 8 first-round picks, and I mean, being able to go through it with them all year long, kind of talk to each other about it, definitely helps. And I think whoever's picking those guys from our team is getting great players and great people as well.
Well, you can have another steak. You've earned it.
Thank you.
Take care, Matt. Back to the panel.
Sarah, thanks very much. Sam Cosentino, Louis DeBrusque, and Brian Burke. Let's pick up on that theme, because that is now the 4th player selected from the program in the first round. And Sam, you've been talking about this all season long. This draft is going to be the story of the Western Hockey League and the U.S. program. Should we just get used to this? Will this be consistent year in and year out with that U.S. program cranking out handfuls of high-end players?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And for me, it starts at the grassroots level, where they're really promoting skill and developing skill. I look at some of the young players in Canada and some of the younger teams, and they're all about winning and playing systems, where there's a big difference going on in the United States grassroots level. The other thing I think about is all the retired players that ended up in NHL cities. St. Louis, Chicago, Michigan, Florida, Texas, now in California. And those guys are starting to coach the younger players, and they're finding
Florida
success in minor
Panthers
hockey.
select from the U.S. National Team Development Program, Spencer Knight.
Okay, Sam, so just a quick breath and talk more about the U.S. National Development Program, because Spencer Knight becomes the first goaltender selected at the 2019 NHL Draft, and now the 5th player from the U.S. program. There was a lot of talk leading into this draft, that this goaltender wasn't going to get past Florida.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And what you're thinking about if you're Dale Talon is you're thinking about Luongo, you're thinking about Price, Vasilevsky, Rask, Fleury, that if you're able to solve this problem, it's probably solved for the next 10 years and you don't have to worry about it. How quickly will he play would be the next question. And a lot of times we're looking at goalies now, 25 years old. Some are saying that this guy might be able to play at 23. When you look at his work at the Combine, that body of work is simply outstanding in all of those categories where he finishes amongst the top 7. But again, another guy who stepped into the room with us at the Combine, and he shook your hand, he looked you in the eyes, and you knew he was not only confident, but he had his eye on the prize. I love the fact that during this offseason he worked on being more efficient, about settling his game down a little bit, about doing less yet playing faster, and I think that's a really interesting concept for a goaltender.
Well, at the U.S. National Team Program, John Wroblewski, the coach there, was telling me he's in the top 2 or 3 categories with all the skaters and defensemen, not among goalies. So they've got a 300-yard shuttle, 100-yard dash, long jump, bench press, pull-ups. He's in the top 2 or 3 with all the skaters. This kid is an athlete. Jerry York, where he's going to Boston College, said the most athletic goalie he's seen in years, post to post with power, great awareness, great kid, very mature. 2 years at Boston College, in my view, and then he's going pro.
Is he the most anticipated netminder in the draft, going back to Carey Price in 2005?
Well, you'd have to think so, being taken this high, but there is a cautionary tale with taking goaltenders in the first round. If I look at the 17 goalies that were starters for their playoff teams this year, including the 2 for Carolina in Mrazek and McElhinney, only 3 of them were taken in the first round. Robin Leonard was taken in the second round. Everyone else from the 3rd round down, including 2 free agents in Bobrovsky and Jones. So some people feel that there's a lot more value by using your first pick on a positional player and then getting a goalie once you get into the 2nd and 3rd round and beyond.
And statistics don't lie about that, but you and I talking before talked about the fact that if this is the guy, if you hit this one right, as you mentioned, this is your decade-long starter, and that's what the Florida Panthers are hoping from this guy. I love the fact that he's a physical specimen. He works out. I loved his interview. He's one of the best interviews at the Combine. Good.
All right, let's head now down to new head coach for the Florida Panthers, Joe Quenneville, with Elliott Freeman.
Jeff, a bit of a different tack because Spencer Knight's not someone you're going to be thinking about right now. So when you look at your roster, what are you hoping to accomplish over the next couple of weeks?
Well, we're looking to, we'll see how it plays out in the free agency market. But he brings us, goaltending. We all know the importance of it and how you need depth, and he's a young kid. He's very impressive. We think he's got a great future, and we'll see how it plays out over the next couple of weeks as far as how things are going to play out in the net.
In that division, it's the last couple of years, it's been Tampa, Boston, Toronto. How do you break that?
I know we're walking into the best division in hockey. We got I think they've been close the last couple of years of being a playoff team. Now we got to find a way to get in the playoffs, and we saw this year where anything can happen. So we feel that we've got some young players that are ready to go to that next level. We need them to play playoff games and find out how good we can be. But there's a lot of good pieces here. I think it's exciting down there. We want to find a way to get in the playoff hunt. But Tampa's year they had was unbelievable, and we want to make sure that we're part of a playoff team next year.
Tan looks better in Florida than Chicago. Congratulations, Joel.
All right, thanks, Elliott.
Sarah?
How do you like the ring of this? Squidward makes it to the NHL. Are you ever going to live that nickname down?
No. I mean, he's been on all my helmets, and I plan to keep him there, so.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about your performance during the fitness testing at the Combine. Have you always put that much emphasis on athleticism?
Yeah, for me, it's a big part of the game. I think you have to be a good athlete as well as a hockey player. But for me, I go back in the summers to Ben Prentice, and obviously just trained there all summer, so.
So there was something else that came up during one of your interviews. One of the teams asked you, what's more important, stopping pucks or preventing goals?
Yeah.
And I know you were wrestling with that.
Yeah.
Have you come up with the answer?
I don't know, because I think stopping pucks is the whole point of goalie, right? But then also, preventing goals is the big thing. The more goals wins, right? So I think more preventing goals, so.
All right. You have his answer. Jeff Merrick, preventing goals is the name of the game. Thanks very much, Fezzer.
Appreciate it.
Trick questions at these combines, I swear. Spencer Knight, who, by the way, is an outstanding puck handler, which is an underrated part of his game. Grew up idolizing Jonathan Quick. All right, the Philadelphia Flyers, they traded with the Arizona Coyotes, so now they will select 14th. A lot of good players still on that board. A couple of forwards, Peyton Krebs, Cole Caulfield. You wonder which way the Philadelphia Flyers edge, as they are now poised to select for the first time the 2019 NHL Draft. Chuck Fletcher's first selection as GM of the Flyers.
Philadelphia is proud to select from the U.S. National Team Development Program, Cam York.
Well, we've seen forwards, we've seen a goaltender, and now we're seeing defensemen selected from the U.S. National Team Development Program.
It's like the dressing room. I mean, this guy is an example of what we talked about when some retired players end up coaching, and you go back to looking at Scott Niedermayer, you look at this guy who grew up in the LA area, and he was exposed to the likes of Jamie Storr and Craig Johnson, but an offensive defenseman whose defensive game is really underrated because he's got great feet. He has the ability to keep tight gaps. He has the ability to cut you off and angle you. He's a really good stick-on-stick player, so he's got a lot of those elements to his game, but where he really excelled with the U.S. program is on the power play, and that's something that emerged throughout the course of the year, as you can see on the highlights.
Going to University of Michigan next year. Louis.
Extreme high offensive IQ. When you look at the players that he was playing within the program, to be on that power play and kind of be the catalyst at times, the creative guy, that tells you a lot about the upside of Cameron York. And, for me, I look at this going to Philadelphia. They've already got a ton of young defensemen there, Provorov, Sanheim, Gostisbehere. There's guys that are offensively minded and gifted there. He'll fit right in with that bunch. And not the biggest of defensemen, but we've seen this before. Guys that can move their feet, guys that can think the game at a high level, can play at the next level, and that's what the Flyers are believing in this player here.
And Seth Eppert from the program told me, he said, most young defensemen that create offense are a train wreck defensively. This guy creates offense with minimal risk defensively. His panic level is very low. He will let people approach within inches of him before he makes a play. He's going to be a real good player. He's from Anaheim Hills, by the way, not the LA area. Anaheim. He's from the Anaheim area, Anaheim Hills. And he's going to Michigan. He's just going to get better on a real sharp arc. And he loves to fish.
Well, how about this? How about getting the opportunity to go up against Zegras, Baldy, Beecher, Hughes, Caulfield every day in practice? You have no choice but to be a better player because of it.
And Jack, you said he's the most creative guy on the team. That's a bold statement from the #1 pick in the draft this year, but that just goes to show you the IQ that he plays the game with, and he's got a ton of confidence with the puck on his stick.
Sammy, next time, just say Southern California. That'll go over a lot easier with Berkey. And have a look at this old picture of Cam way back in the day.
Awesome.
Future first-round draft pick. He knew what was up. And I'll tell you, this is the story. Almost half the draft has been from this U.S. development team. 6 of the 14 picks so far are coming from that program. That is outstanding. Chuck Fletcher, Flyers general manager with Elliott Freeman.
Can't call Cam York in that sweatshirt a liar, and that's because Chuck Fletcher made the pick. Now, I just want to ask you some big picture stuff. Nobody's been busier than you in the last little while. How close are you to having the Flyers team that you want to put out on the ice next season?
We're getting closer. We still have to fill in a few more roster spots. We're still talking to teams to see if we can upgrade our roster, and we have a few key restricted free agents to sign. But we're starting to come together pretty well. I think we're happier with their depth and our new coaching staff, so I think we're in a much better spot than we were at the end of the year.
I did want to ask you about one of your players, and that's Gostisbehere, and there's been a lot of talk about him. What do you think he'll be back in Philly next year, or how would you handicap that?
I would imagine he would be, yeah. I mean, again, teams are calling. We're certainly not shopping Shane. He's a big part of our team, big part of our power play, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do with our new coaching staff.
Thanks very much, Chuck.
Thank you, Elliott.
Jeff?
All right, so as he mentioned, new coaching staff with the Philadelphia Flyers led by Alain Vigneault, and no one thinks that the Philadelphia Flyers are done by any stretch of the imagination. They're there to shake things up. All right, Montreal Canadiens, you have a look at their general manager, Marc Bergevin. It has been a very busy day for the Montreal Canadiens GM, talking to as many people as possible, calling them over, going over, having a laugh, having a chat with, well, you see general manager for the Avalanche, Joe Sakic. Montreal and Toronto cooking on something. There he is with Kyle Dubas. So Marc Bergevin has been a very busy general manager so far, and they are now poised to make a pick here, the 2019 NHL draft. We do expect them to go up on stage. Peyton Krebs is still out there despite the Achilles situation. Cole Caulfield from the program, he's still out there as well. Where do you see Montreal going? Last year in the first, they picked up the big Finnish center, Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
I have to really wonder, with the Peyton Krebs injury, is that maybe more severe than what we thought? Here's a guy that I had pegged as a top 10. He's still sitting around. You saw him hobble in off the top of the show. You wonder if the injury has had an impact on where Peyton Krebs goes, and the size for Cole Caulfield, who many expected to go in the top 10 as well.
It could be a factor, but it's a partial tear. And this is an injury that players normally have a 100% recovery rate on. There's very little risk of drafting a player that has had this injury. I talked to 2 team doctors about this last week. They were like, nope, take him. So it must be another factor, or someone hasn't done the research into the injury.
We expect Montreal to take it forward, that best player available in this area right now?
I mean, Cole Caulfield, yes, he was projected as a top 10. I think the size has deterred some teams, but this guy is a scoring machine. He's not going to be there for very long.
He wins best dressed GM anyway.
Always. Everywhere he goes,
always
best dressed. I told you, fresh off the runways of Montreal. Here he is, the fashion plate, Marc Bergevin.
The Montreal Canadiens would like to thank the Canucks organization, the city of Vancouver, and the Aquilini family for their hospitality, and also the St. Louis Blues to be the Stanley Cup champion. Salutations à tous nos partisans à travers le Québec et le Canada. With our first pick, I'd like to, a native from Sycamus, BC, our captain, Shea Weber, will make our selection.
With the 50th overall selection, the Montreal Canadiens select from the U.S. National Development Program, Cole Caulfield.
The biggest person on the stage selects one of the smallest players in the draft. But here's the question that I have for you guys. Cole Caulfield, right winger from the U.S. program. That run continues, 7th from the program. Did the Montreal Canadiens just draft Alex DeBrincat 2.0?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Alex DeBrincat was the guy who paved the way for this type of player. And when you talk to Cole Caulfield, he says, yes, I compare favorably to Alex DeBrincat. I watched a lot of Alex DeBrincat. He's got a lot of bite in his game. I've seen Cole Caulfield, and he's not afraid to give you a little whack in the back of the legs. But what they do have in common is the fact that they know where to find free ice, where to find those soft spots. That's what good goal scorers do. Cole Caulfield has that ability innately, and it's amazing to see just how many goals he's able to score. You know he's going to be the top choice to get the puck, yet you still can't stop him.
Everything he does is funneled to the net. Every single move, every movement he makes without the puck is to get himself in a position to get to the net or get the puck to the net. I mean, for his stature, he's one of the smallest guys in the draft that has one of the biggest smiles. This kid is infectious.
He loves it.
He's infectious with his whole demeanor and loves to score goals. We call these guys cookie monsters for a reason. They absolutely must score. They love to score. He's no different. He is a prolific goal scorer.
He gets 5 to 6 chances to score every single night, Brian. What do you think of Cole Caulfield?
Well, John Wroblewski from the program said to me he gets lost better than any player he's ever seen. Meaning, like Louis said, he finds open ice, he finds little tiny seams, and then he does the rest with a great release and a hard shot. From Stevens Point, Wisconsin, again, another multi-sport athlete despite his diminutive size. This guy's going to go to Wisconsin. He's going to score a ton of goals, and then he's going to come out early. I think he's going to play. He's got some work to do, but his release and the power on his shot for a little wee guy, amazing.
He's going to go to Wisconsin, play with his brother Brock, and as Sam mentioned, models his game after Alex DeBrincat, and he probably scored the goal of the year. And as we've found out, he's not a bad analyst as well and loves describing the goal of the year. Have a peek.
I dropped the puck to Marshall going into the zone, and I found myself at the goal line, and then Marshall didn't really have an option to shoot, so he gave it back to me. And, you know, my line was kind of on a line change, so I didn't really have anybody out there. And I saw the goalie was, you know, not really expecting me to shoot it, so I tried to throw it on net, and I mean, somehow, some way it went in, so yeah, it was pretty cool.
What a snipe by Cole Caulfield. What a snipe, what a description. How did that puck go in, guys?
Yeah, unbelievable. That's that goal scorer's knack. That's an innate ability. That's not something that you can teach.
All right, head scout for the Montreal Canadiens is Trevor Timmins. He's standing by with Elliott.
Trevor, I'm just wondering, as you're sitting there, how much did your draft list get thrown around by what was going on in front of you?
Wow. This was a yo-yo ever since pick number 3. It's been all over the place. We didn't think we would have the 2 guys available that we had to choose from in the end, and it was a difficult decision, but we went with a pure goal scorer. We spent a lot of time with Cole. He's a great young man. He's a heck of a competitor, and he knows how to put the puck in the net.
Do you buy the DeBrincat comparisons? Are they legit?
They're similar. I mean, they're both similar size and put the puck in the net. They're a little different in a lot of different other aspects, but, you know, we're excited to have him as part of our Montreal Canadiens family.
Thanks very much, Trevor. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jeff?
All right, last time the Montreal Canadiens took someone from the program in the first round was Michael McCarron, 2013. He was a huge man. These are the shortest first-round draft picks. Ken Hicks, 5'7", Kyler Yamamoto to Edmonton in 2017 at 5'7", and Cole Caulfield joins that club as well, going 15th overall to the Montreal Canadiens, and now 7 players, guys, from the U.S. program. It is a run. U.S. program selected in the first round. Hugs with fellow teammates.
Just another assist from Hughes to Caulfield.
Jack Hughes. Those 2 guys are quite the battery for the U.S. program, or were rather.
It's really cool at the Combine because they do their official measurements again. So he was listed most of the year at 5'6.5", and when he got to the Combine and they were doing the official measurements, you can see him puff out his chest. He got to 5'7", and you look down at the kid and he gave it the old fist bump, like, I'm there, man, I'm there.
All right, it's now time for the Colorado Avalanche to make their selection. This is the second pick. This is their own pick. The earlier pick was from the Ottawa Matt Duchene trade. So the Avalanche are poised to make their second pick in the first round. Where do we see a team like the Colorado Avalanche leaning? They went for the defenseman early on.
Well, no defenseman, no goalie. It's going to be a forward. It's just a matter of which one it is. And again, we talked about Peyton Krebs still being on the board. There's a number of ways in which they could go. And this is a draft for me that I haven't seen so much of a discrepancy between all the teams as what we're seeing. I think Trevor Timmins really said it very succinctly to Elliott how much he's been thrown off by what happened ahead of the 15th pick.
Colorado selects from Victoria, the BC Hockey League, Alex Newhook.
I'll tell you guys, Joe Sakic is hitting all the right notes. Drafts a player from the Vancouver Giants and now one from the Victoria Grizzlies. The GM from Burnaby knows how to play to the crowd and got himself a real good player here for the Avs.
Yeah, and he got himself maybe a better person. That's the thing that sticks out to me. When we talked to this young man at the Combine, just how professional he was in his approach. And when it comes to Alex Newhook, playing in the BCHL, it took him a little while to find his way to get there. But here's a guy who's born in Newfoundland, and it's about the journey. You start there, and you realize, you know what, maybe I better make a move. So what does he do? He ends up moving from St. John's to go to play in the Greater Toronto Hockey League, the York Simcoe Express. And then he plays at St. Andrews College. Finally, the Aurora Tigers. They're all in similar geographic location in Aurora, Ontario. Then he ends up with the Victoria Grizzlies, plays 2 years there in the BCHL, led the league in scoring there last year, and then he's going back to Boston College, get a little bit closer to home. But you have to love the path and the dedication, the sacrifices he made as a young man to move away from home, to go literally across the country to know that that would be the best option for him. I think his shining moment was the fact that, yeah, he led the BCHL in scoring, but you know what? When he showed up at the under-18s and started playing with Krebs and Cousins and all these other guys who were in that draft class with him, he proved that he could be right with them despite not playing in the CHL.
Quick follow-up on Alex Newhook. Does he have some Tyson Jost in him? Do you see any of that in Newhook, Sam?
Well, a lot of the people that I talked to said he is that guy, but with better skating ability.
This guy's a greyhound. I mean, his nickname should be Magellan when you look at that map. But he's a greyhound. This guy can skate, make plays at full speed. He's going to Boston College. His sister is also going to go there. This guy is the best pure skater, I would say, in this draft. And his journey indicates how determined he's going to be. This is an excellent skater. I think it's a really good pick.
And BCHL's youngest leading scorer, by the way, in 20 years.
And as you said, Sam, you know, the commitment that he wanted to go the college route, he stuck his ground. That's not always an easy decision to make when you're a high prospect, but he did. Led the league, the BCHL, in scoring, tore it up. He's going to go to Boston College. You know, he has every single tool in the toolbox. This guy can fly, he can score, he plays with jam. Great player.
Tara Sloan standing by with Alex Newhook.
Well, you can bet they are partying in St. John's, Newfoundland tonight, and you will be a little bit later. Alex, the guys were talking about your journey. You went to Aurora to play at the age of 14. You found your way to the BCHL. This was all your idea. Where did that determination come from?
I don't know. I think it all started once I first stepped on the ice. Just always wanted to better myself. Always wanted to do as much as I can when I'm on the ice, and I think it carried with me throughout my career so far, and it's brought me a lot of places. I'm very fortunate to be here right now.
And your sister Abby has shown similar determination.
Yeah.
She's already committed to Boston College, same school as you. How have you two supported one another throughout your respective journeys?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have that relationship. She's done so well for herself, up to this point, and she's such a great person, and to be able to share it with her today, it's super special.
Well, enjoy the night and enjoy the experience.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jeff, back to you.
Well, and now the BCHL has more first-round picks than the OHL and QMJHL combined. 0. Happy fans and sad fans in Vancouver. 2019 NHL draft continues at Rogers Arena. So far, and standing out for a lot of people, and this is the story of the first round so far, and we thought it would be 7 picks from the U.S. development program of the 16. Pick number 17 belongs to Kelly McCrimmon, George McPhee, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Now on stage, we're about to select in moments. Where does Vegas go?
The Vegas Golden Knights select from the Western Hockey League's Winnipeg Ice, center Peyton Krebs.
There you go. Kelly McCrimmon, Brandon Wheat King selects someone from Manitoba, playing with the Winnipeg Ice, Peyton Krebs.
Yeah.
From Okotoks, Alberta.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that he's, for me, dropped this far, and I think that's a great pick for Vegas. He's such a character kid. I mean, you sit down and talk to him, and it's about working out and watching YouTube videos for CrossFitness. He's got interest outside of hockey. He likes his watches. He likes his fashion. He's got a great family support group there with both of his brothers. One, Drew, a second-round pick in Medicine Hat, where his older brother, Dakota, playing with the Calgary Hitmen, and of course his sister, a country music star. But there's a lot of things to like about this guy's journey. I mean, you think about playing in Kootenay this year. The whole time they're talking about relocating. He's named captain of the team. They make an abundance of trades. He's got new teammates every 5 seconds, and he has to deal with it all during his draft year and the pressure that provides. But he never made a peep. He went out and scored more than a point per game. He was a dish-first guy, even though he had a team that didn't have a lot of great finishers. That tells me everything about the character of this young man. I think Vegas has a steal in this young man at 17.
Was a bright star in an otherwise dark season for the Kootenay Ice, now moving to Winnipeg.
He really was, and I liked him in all aspects of his game. And, you know, for me, I told you this, and listen, I'm only comparing him to this player because of some of the similarities and the demeanor on the ice. Joe Sakic. You know, he was always in the right place. He made quick plays. He had a quick release. And I look at Krebs the same way. That's the way he plays the game. I mean, obviously, Sakic was a dynamic offensive juggernaut throughout his career in the National Hockey League, but I like some similarities I see from Krebs. And good on him. You know, suffered a real terrible injury to the Achilles tendon. Is recovering from that. Great pick by the Vegas Golden Knights to step up and still take it.
Before you make your main points, Brian, just a quick thought on the Achilles injury as well. You pointed out this is something the players can recover from and do consistently.
Routinely, and this is a partial tear, not a complete tear. Even a complete tear, not only does a player typically recover from it, but he can actually come back stronger than he was pre-injury due to the therapy. So this is a good pick for them. As one chief scout said to me, this is a guy with first-line talent and fourth-line work ethic. Like, this kid works. He's not just a good player. He works hard. This is a great pickup. For him to slip this far, I'm surprised too, Sam.
Really talented family. And you mentioned, you know, the other two brothers. One plays with the Calgary Hitmen, big defenseman, and then another younger brother on the horizon. There'll be 3 kids in the dub.
Well, it's got to be a real sigh of relief for him. I mean, after all the stuff he went through this year and then the injury, he's going to get a chance to get into Winnipeg. I understand the resources there for the Ice team. Now that they've relocated, should be a perfect place for him to be able to rehab the injury, get back on track.
And there he is, the Tara Sloan.
Well, Peyton, we're looking at a shot of your family. Everybody's losing it. There's Dakota. They're so happy for you. How grateful are you to them right now?
Yeah, I'm lost for words right now. I don't know how to feel. I can't really look at that or else I might tear up. So, no, really thankful to have this opportunity for sure.
Well, I know you guys, you play together, you play music together, you guys have dance-offs. You're going to hear this coming in your ear. This is your sister, Madison's latest single, Real Thing. How proud are you of her?
Yeah, no, it's amazing for her to do that. I mean, it's nitty-gritty. Hopefully being in Vegas can help her out. It'll be awesome. I'm honored to be here, and it's so exciting.
Well, congratulations to you and your entire family. And the no drag policy that your parents implemented absolutely worked. Murph, heading over to you.
Tara, thank you. Greg, your son said he didn't want to watch the highlights, so the family's celebrating because he might tear up. What type of moment was this for you and your family?
Oh, it's a pretty special moment. We're a really tight family, and there's a lot of sacrifice and time and commitment that goes into having someone get here, and so it's pretty special. So.
It wasn't the easiest of seasons for Peyton, but he had a great season until tearing his Achilles in training. What's his attitude been like since that injury happened?
Well, after his little cry, he sucked it up a bit, and I mean he's a battler and wants to work hard, and he has a great attitude to succeed and get better right as fast as he can. So,
congratulations, enjoy the day.
Okay, thanks.
Jeff.
By the way, the no drag policy that Tara is referring to, the parents have a very strict policy for the kids. If we have to drag you somewhere, this thing is not for you and you're not going to do it. Peyton Krebs never had to be dragged to the rink, guys.
And there's a lesson for some parents that have their kids in hockey.
I love that.
I love it. If they have to drag them there, it ain't going to happen.
They should be dragging you there.
Dallas Stars are up next, 15th in the NHL with 93 points last season, allowed 200 goals, the second fewest in the NHL. Dallas Stars had a real nice season, although eliminated in the second round by the eventual Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. Only 4 draft picks this season. That is the fewest in franchise history. Jim Nill and the Dallas Stars select now.
To make Dallas's first pick, I would like to introduce our senior owner, Bob Ghilardi.
The Dallas Stars are proud to pick Harley Thomas.
Thomas Hardy. Yeah, Thomas Hardy.
Oh, Thomas Harley. Got it backwards. Sorry. Thomas Harley.
And that right there is a draft moment that no one will ever forget. Thomas Harley, Sam Cosentino, the big defenseman for the Mississauga Steelheads of the OHL, selected by the Dallas Stars. Your thoughts on this young man?
Yeah, he comes from a hockey background, a really smart kid, and an interesting kid when you interview him, and the fact that he has a nice balance of right on that edge of being cocky but extremely confident young man. And you talk about John Klingberg of the Dallas Stars, and here's a guy who has learned the lessons from his coach, James Richmond. Hey, I watched Klingberg burn me for a whole bunch of goals when I was coaching internationally against Sweden. What did he do? Just put the puck high. He let everyone else know around him that, hey, I'm going to be shooting it high. So if you don't want to take one in the neck, you don't want to take one in the throat, get out of the way. And you see Klingberg doing it successfully in the National Hockey League level. You saw Thomas Harley do it very successfully with the Mississauga Steelheads in the OHL.
Nick Hague, by the way, 2 seasons ago was a draft pick of the Vegas Golden Knights, also played Mississauga with James Richmond. He does the exact same thing, and all of that, to your point, Sam, goes right back to John Klingberg of the Dallas Stars. Louis, your thoughts on Harley?
Big and smooth skating, and I like that comparison that you just made there, Jeff. And, for him, we talked about it, Sam, his speed as well for a big guy. When he wants to get up and go, he can get up and go. I like that subtle play that he makes at the blue line, though. He makes sure the puck gets through, so that means his head is up and he's thinking to get the puck to the right area, which is so crucial. You don't put up that many points in the OHL if you're not a dynamic player and thinking the game the right way. So a good pick by Dallas, and yeah, just a big guy that can skate. It's pretty hard to beat for that in the back end.
58 points in 68 games, Berkey.
He's a safe pick, and I'm not saying that critically. He is going to play. I have guys that are telling me they project him as a 5, maybe 4. They don't project his offensive ability that he's demonstrated at this level to carry forward, but he's a safe pick. He's going to play. He's a good kid. Canadian kid that grew up in the States. They celebrated all the Canadian holidays while they lived there. I like in his interview, I said, compare yourself to somebody. He said, I compare myself to Thomas Chabot because there are lapses, but I can eat big minutes and create offense. I like that.
He plays, Sam, as you well know, you cover the OHL, 30 minutes a night for the Mississauga Steelheads. This guy munches the minutes.
A younger team in the back end, so he was given license to create offense because they had lost a couple of guys to graduation and that have moved on. So he was given that license and he took full advantage of the opportunity.
Thomas Harley with Tara Sloan.
Thomas, your dad was a goaltender.
Yeah.
He played with the St. Albert Saints, and he won a national championship with the University of Alberta Golden Bears. He didn't want you to become a goaltender. Why?
I don't know. As I get older, there's less of him that can play, right? So he wants me to do D. We didn't have a ton of D when I was younger, so he just kind of stuck me back there, and I guess it worked out.
I guess it worked out pretty well. What kind of an influence has he been?
He's been huge for me. I mean, he was my coach growing up. He's my role model. He's taught me most of everything I know about the game. So he's honestly my best friend. He's one of my best friends growing up, so it's great.
Got to give some love to your mom. 4 high-achieving kids in her house. What has she done for you?
She's the anchor in our house. She runs everything. She's the boss. She's been there for me my entire life. She's one of my biggest supporters, if not the biggest. I just love her so much.
Well, enjoy this moment.
Thank
Congratulations.
You.
Ottawa is next. Jeff.
They are indeed, Tara, last in the NHL with 64 points. DJ Smith named 13th coach in franchise history on May the 23rd. Pierre Dorion entering season number 4 as the Sens general manager. Look, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's been a tough couple of seasons for the Ottawa Senators. They are back in the first round. They had already surrendered the first pick in the Matt Duchene trade, and that went to the Colorado Avalanche, and they selected Bowen Byram 4th overall. Ottawa is back in after making some of their moves. This one to Columbus for Matt Duchene. What do we expect of Ottawa here, Sam? They need help at a lot of different spots.
Yeah, but I think they've kind of turned a corner here. I really like the hire of DJ Smith, a guy who's worked well with young players. You look at his success working as associate coach with Windsor, winning a Memorial Cup with Oshawa, and then going in and working under Mike Babcock. He's got an array of experiences, yet he's got that foundation of being able to work with and help develop young players. So I think they've made a really good decision in bringing DJ Smith aboard. And then you look at their group and all the picks they have in the upcoming drafts. They're well appointed here to be able to turn the corner and get into a rebuild really quickly.
And DJ Smith has been interviewing potential assistant coaching candidates here at the draft the last 2 days. He's talked to some, I'm not at liberty to disclose the names, he's talked to some really good young and experienced candidates. That's something Pierre Dorion hopes to nail down in the next 3-4 days.
And safe to say that this team, as much as there's some outstanding prospects on the horizon right now, this team is built around the future of Thomas Chabot and Brady Tkachuk, Berkey.
There's some big pieces in there. And Pierre's going to be criticized for keeping the pick last year and giving this up. you get Brady Tkachuk out of any draft, guess what? You've had a good day. So I like the way they're going. They're moving that way. They're moving there quicker. You remember their owner said they're going to replace 10 people on the team in the first year? It's about what they've done, and they're moving north.
And they have a big pick coming up for the franchise. It's a team that missed the playoffs for the second consecutive season. Pierre Dorian said the rebuild is on. We'll be as transparent as we can. It's built around Shabbat, and you can sign him come July 1st. Brady Tkachuk as well, who was on a lot of ballots for the Calder as the Rookie of the Year. Ottawa Senators selecting 19th in Vancouver.
Before making our selection, the Ottawa Senators organization would like to thank the City of Vancouver, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Aquilini family for their hospitality. We would also like to say hello to our fans at the Royal Oak in Ottawa watching our draft party. Nous aimerions saluer nos partisans au Royal Oak à Ottawa en train de nous regarder. To make our selection, we will have one of our first round picks from last year, Brady Tkachuk, make the selection.
Ottawa selects from Kelowna, Lassie Thompson.
Sam Cosentino, I believe they refer to Kelowna as the factory.
Wow, you look at all the defensemen that have come out of that program, Cal Foote, Madison Bowie, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Shea Weber a couple of moments ago.
Shea Weber. And here's a guy who came over this year, and he adapted quickly to the North American game. I was in there on February 7th watching a game against Prince George, and I was so impressed by this young man's skating ability. I haven't seen a defenseman cut the net like that to be the one-man breakout like I've seen from Lassie Thompson, but there's a lot more to his game than that. Yes, he has the ability to score goals with an absolute bomb of a shot. You do not want to be in front of that. Clear the road, mister. You do not want to be blocking that shot. And the goaltender had a tough time seeing it. But when it comes to Lassie Thompson, the thing that people are worried about is the fact that he's scheduled to go back to Finland and play pro next year. And I have a hard time understanding that decision, knowing that the Kelowna Rockets are going to host the Memorial Cup next year. Now, that may all change, of course, depending on what happens if Ottawa signs him or if they strongly suggest that he goes back to Kelowna. But at the Combine and asking him, he said he's going back to play pro in Finland.
Yeah, Berkey, let me get your thoughts on that as a general manager to Sam's point. Lassie Thompson with Kelowna hosting the Memorial Cup says he wants to go back and play in Finland next year. How much pressure, nudging could the Ottawa Senators put on the player to encourage him to stay in Kelowna?
Well, they could put considerable pressure on him. They could say, if you don't change your mind, we're not going to sign you right away, and we'll wait and see how you do. I'm baffled by this, and the scouts I talked to are baffled by it. They view there's a split here. Some of the guys think this guy's going to stick around and he's going to turn into a good player. They like this pick at this level. Other guys said they wouldn't take him until the second round on the basis of the uncertainty. Also, he's a mid-sized guy. He's not small, but he's not big. Mid-sized guy, hard shot, not an elite skill level. Lots of split. There's a split on this guy.
Logan Brown, Drake Batherson. We know that there's a lot of high-end prospects up front for the Ottawa Senators. Louis, them addressing a need on the blue line?
I like it, too. I like it when European players come over to North America and take that risk to come over and play a different game in a different rink and show themselves to the world. It's worked out for Thompson, but that's not always an easy thing to do for a young player. I like when they come over and take that chance.
Sens GM Pierre Dorian with Elliott Freeman.
Pierre, there's some question about where he's going to play next year. Where would you like him to play next year?
Right now, we're just going to talk to him and find out more where he wants to play next year. Whether he plays in Kelowna, which we'll really support, or back in the Finnish Men's League, we'll support either place that he wants to play.
You have an interesting spot elsewhere in this draft. You've got the first pick of the second round. There's been some surprises here. How much action do you expect to be on that pick tonight and into tomorrow?
Oh, definitely, Elliot. I think we're going to be very busy tonight. I think this is a time where a lot of the team scouts are going to tell their GMs that we never thought that this guy could be there 32, and there's quite a bit of time between the pick 31 is made and when pick 32 will be made. So I think we'll be fielding a lot of calls tonight.
All right, thanks very much, Pierre.
Thank you.
Jeff?
There you go, Thompson. Just the 11th Finnish defensemen ever chosen in the first round. 4 of them, by the way, were drafted in the first round in 2017. They were 10th in the NHL with 99 points. The Winnipeg Jets are next on the board, Sam.
Well, you're looking at Winnipeg, and the fact that they got back into the game a couple of weeks ago, they didn't have to show up here on Friday night, but Kevin Cheveldayoff able to make that move and get New York's second pick of the first round in that trade for Jacob Trouba. So they're really excited about the ability to continue to build their young group with what was already a pretty good core.
A lot of good forwards, young forwards on that Winnipeg Jets team. We just saw Finn. You think of Christian Vesalainen, who's another Finn that they have up front. You wonder if maybe they address something after losing Jacob Trouba, look for a defenseman perhaps?
Let's talk about today. How did you...
Absolutely. I've always, I've loved Cheveldayoff's drafts. I think he's a very diligent guy. He looks and picks players that fit the mold of the Winnipeg Jets, and for sure. When you look at their team, losing Trouba is certainly a hole. They do have guys that are filling in that role, and they had to make some room for certain guys. But, yeah, they could go defense. They could certainly go forward as well, too, and just continue to stock the cupboards.
Berkey, this is a big summer for the Winnipeg Jets by way of signings. We have Connor still to sign, Laine still to sign, Kopp, perhaps Tanev as well. There's a lot of business coming up this offseason for Kevin Cheveldayoff.
For sure, and that's what prompted the Trouba trade in my mind, was to clear some cap space. They brought back Pionk, who's a cheaper player, a younger player. So to me, that's what they're doing, is making sure that they've got assets. Can they keep a Myers? Can they sign these different guys? So to me, I think that's the motivation behind the Trouba move, was to free up cap space for sure. But it's going to be a long summer for Winnipeg. It's not going to be a fun summer.
Kevin Cheveldayoff, GM of the Jets.
Winnipeg Jets would like to thank the City of Vancouver, the Vancouver Canucks, for hosting such a wonderful event. We'd like to congratulate the St. Louis Blues on a Stanley Cup championship, well deserved. Making our selection today will be Marcel Como, who was our head scout for 5 years. He's going to be retiring at the end of the draft.
Thank you, Chevy. The Winnipeg Jets are proud to select from Lukko, Finland, Ville Heinola.
Okay, so back-to-back Finnish defensemen in the NHL draft. The 5'11" defenseman from Finland, left-hand shot. Sam plays a calm, stable game, rocking chair game, should I say?
Oh, yeah. I love the poise of this young man, but look at him. He looks like he's 12 years old, and you see him at the Combine. Even physically, he looks like he's 12 years old. So how is this guy actually going out and being proficient in the men's league, in the top men's league in Finland? It's unbelievable. But he just continued to adjust his game, and it's that poise, it's that calmness that you talk about. When he has the puck, he's assessing his options, yet he still does it with speed.
Played with Teppo Newman. He had tremendous core strength. He wasn't big upper body, but it was the lower body strength and the ability to have that balance on the ice. And I believe Heinola has the same kind of game that Newman had. I said I compared him a little bit to Torrey Krug. Torrey Krug's not the tallest guy. He's stocky, but he gets his legs out wide. He's a great offensive threat in the offensive zone especially, and I see that in Heinola as well.
Not saying that he's going to be this player, but in that elite league, that top in Liga, he had more points in his draft year than Miro Heiskanen with the Dallas Stars, who's turned heads all season long. What do you think of this pick, Berkey?
I think that's a bit of a gamble. This is a player, given what's left on the sheet, the guys that have dropped down to this point, this is where I would have picked Heinola to go somewhere in this range, but now that some names have dropped down, I think it's a bit of a gamble. I do say this, I will never question Kevin Cheveldayoff in the amateur draft because they've done such a good job. So it's probably a good pick. In my mind, a bit of a gamble.
Now the 12th Finn drafted in the first round. Is this sort of the beginning of the rise of the Finnish defender, Sam Cosentino? That used to just be the bailiwick of the Swedes, all influenced by defensemen like Börje Salming and then, of course, Nick Lidstrom. With all due respect to Teppo Newman, not really in that category, but an influential defenseman nonetheless. Is this, again, the rise of the Finnish blue liner?
Well, it's the rise of Finland, period. I mean, look at the under-18 Worlds going back to last year. Look at the men's World Championships, the World Junior Championships. As an entirety, the country is doing an unbelievable job with what they're doing at the grassroots level to continually produce the high-end players and guys that are coming into the National Hockey League and having an impact right away, like Laine, like Heiskanen. And I don't know if Heinola is going to be one of those guys. I would project that he goes back and plays a couple of years. But still, with what they're doing in Finland right now, it's simply unbelievable for a small country to have that amount of success at every level.
He's now with Tara Sloan downstairs. Tara.
Ville, the panel was just talking about the rise of Finland in the hockey world. So many dots, so many gold medals, including the one that you won right here in Vancouver. What's happening in Finland?
I don't know. That's hard to say, but Finnish hockey is now a hot thing, and that's good.
You moved up to the men's league and seemed to fit in right away. How do you think you'll adapt to the North American game?
I don't know. It's just awesome to play in Finnish league with men's, and I don't know. It's a good thing.
It's been great for you. Congratulations, Ville.
Thank you.
All right, here we go, Elliott.
Tara, the Winnipeg Jets have had a lot of success going to Finland. Why in particular is this country one that you believe in so much?
Well, again, we do believe in the philosophy of taking the best player available on our list, and but our scouts are real high on him. He's a player that has tremendous hockey sense, and someone that in the new style of game of puck-moving defenseman, thinking defenseman, making plays. Certainly with the type of forwards that we have, we think he's going to fit in exceptionally well. So we're excited to have him.
Big picture stuff. You've got a lot of business to take care of. What's priority number one after you're done here this weekend?
Well, it's hard to prioritize everything. So you have to just chip away at a lot of things. There is lots of work to be done. That's the normal part of this time of the year for a lot of teams. But for us, we'll just chip away at a lot of different things.
Thanks very much, Kevin.
Thank you,
Jeff.
Elliott, thank you very much. And Sam, you touched on it a couple of seconds ago. What a year this has been for Finnish hockey. And you know what? The interesting thing about it as well, it's not just at the men's level, not just junior hockey as well, but also at the women's level as well. Berkey's going to cover his ears when I say this. They probably should have won that World Championship as well, shouldn't they have? Sam Cosentino?
They lost on a great call.
Pittsburgh Penguins are next to select. Pittsburgh, by the way, haven't made a first-round selection going back to 2014 when they selected Kasperi Kapanen in the first round. And the earliest pick, 8th overall, was 2012. That was Derek Pouliot. But here's Jim Rutherford in some strange territory for him as a GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, no question.
Walking up to the stage on the first day.
Yeah, well, they've been able to use their picks to continuously be in the hunt for a Stanley Cup, and it's worked out pretty well. But at some point, you have to kind of retool, and this is an opportunity for the Penguins to be able to do that.
We have a thought on the Pittsburgh Penguins here. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin. It's always been said, as long as Jim Rutherford has those two in the lineup, he is going for it. This is always a Stanley Cup contender when he has those two players. Is this a team that is, despite the fact they're going up to select, is this a team, Brian, that is open for business?
Well, Jimmy Rutherford was just on the phone until right before he put his coat on and when it started up there. He was entertaining an offer for this pick right up till the time he decided to pick. So he is a riverboat gambler. There's no question he hates to lose. I'm not sure they're not close to the end of the runway here, though, with this group. I really am not.
Lou, what are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, 219?
Leaning along the same lines as Brian. I think that, they've had tremendous success with this organization, but now it's time to retool and look to the future, and I believe that's why they're stepping up and taking a pick here.
Pittsburgh Penguins proud to select from Sherbrooke in Quebec Major Junior League, Samuel Poulin.
Sam, tell us about Samuel Poulin. His father played in the NHL, high draft pick as well.
Yeah, he's a guy I expected to go a little bit lower than this, but Samuel Poulin really made his mark here in the playoffs, and that's where he really opened a lot of eyes. Yes, he's got the work ethic, he's got the size, he plays on a team where as a youngster he's named captain and still had a lot of success in that regard. But he's a tireless worker, and he's a guy that works out with Jakob Pelletier and Alexis Lafreniere, Nathan Legare, who will probably hear his name tomorrow in the second round of this draft. But that tireless work ethic is the thing that sticks out about him. You look at his playoffs, had 8 goals there in 10 games for Sherbrooke, and started to do things skill-wise that weren't necessarily evident in his game throughout the course of the regular season. And that's what vaulted him to this spot. There's a lot about that recency bias, and the most recent viewings of Poulin really came back strong.
I played with his dad, Patrick, and his dad was a specimen. He was always in great physical shape, and this kid's no different. I mean, you look at him, he's a man amongst boys, and as you mentioned, took on a lot of responsibility this year on that team and really stepped up as a leader. I like his game. It's a mature, power forward type of game, and you said it. The work ethic is there, and if he's like anything like his old man, he's going to be a dog on a bone for a puck. And I'll tell you what, that leads to good opportunities, and he's able to do things with those opportunities on the ice. There's his dad right there, still in good shape.
Penguins have always done well, Berkey, taking French-Canadian hockey players.
Yes, they have, and I had the dad in Hartford, and you could show a movie on his back. That's how big his shoulders were.
He was a specimen.
His shoulders were so far apart, the name bar looked tiny. Class guy, the dad is. Patrick Poulin was a classy hockey player, classy person, gym rat freak in the weight room, and this kid's got a lot of those genes. I like this pick.
What's the advantage, Berkey, from a general manager's point of view, or is there one, that the second-generation player has?
If they grew up in a hockey household, they're not intimidated by anything that's put in front of them. It's like having an older brother. The birth order in the draft is very important. Players who are younger brothers tend to make it ahead of the players who are older brothers. The number of second younger brothers that have been stars in our league is frightening. Same thing with dad. You're not intimidated by any of it.
All right, Samuel Poulin goes 21st overall to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their first pick going back to 2014 with Kasperi Kapanen. It's a day of smiles, it's a day of hugs, it's a day of tears and kisses, shock and awe and happiness. 2019 NHL Draft. Hey, hockey moms and bros. Continue.
Cole, so I think one of the strangest requests we made of any player at the Combine was asking them to juggle Timbits, but now you're drafted by a Canadian team, so you might have to get used to it. What do you think of being drafted by the Montreal Canadiens?
I mean, it's a dream come true. I mean, just being drafted and everything, but I mean, to be drafted by such a great organization, a great team, I couldn't be happier and can't wait to get started.
There are a lot of people you're going to want to thank, but you come from a hockey family, and it all started with your grandpa, Wayne, who was a Milwaukee Admiral, grew up in Sault Ste. Marie. What would he say to you on this day if you were around?
I mean, I don't think he'd have anything to say but smile. I think, he was here with me. I had a picture of him in my pocket, so, I mean, I know he was watching down, but, I mean, it was great for my family, my parents, and my brother. I'm so glad they're here, and I can't wait to celebrate with them.
Cole, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All the hidden talents you find out about at the Combine. Good job there. Cole Caulfield. Told you he's got great hands, not just for sniping Sam Cosentino. Los Angeles Kings are next up. There's the new head coach, Todd McClellan, right there. Their second pick in the first round. First time around, 5th overall, they select Alex Turcotte from the U.S. National Development Team. There's Luke Robitaille having a word with his new head coach. Rob Blake is holding the hat, holding the sweater as well. Handshakes all around for the commissioner as the Los Angeles Kings poised to make their second first-round pick. I would have to think, considering the run of forwards that we've seen from the LA Kings in the first round the last couple of seasons, this has to be a defenseman, doesn't it, Sam?
Well, you're looking at Turcotte, and that's the luxury of having 2 picks in the first round, that you can address the positional need with that second pick if you want to, or you can try and hit a home run. There's a lot of different philosophies in which you can go with, but you'd have to think with a forward that they would go to a different position.
The Los Angeles Kings proudly selects from Djurgården, Sweden, Tobias Björnfot.
Should we be stunned at this pick?
Another Swedish defenseman. And another solid one. The list grows.
You know what's really interesting to me is that this is a super safe pick. You're talking about a guy that when you watch him, there's no dynamic element that jumps out about his game. Is he a great shooter? Is he a great passer? Is he a great skater? He does all of those things well, but not at that dynamic elite level that would separate him from the rest of his group. Yet, you sit down and you see he was a captain of the Hlinka Gretzky team in the summertime, the captain of the under-18 world team here this past April, and a lot of people I talked to absolutely love this guy when he stepped into the interview. They realize that, well, we're not sure where he's going to project to be in our lineup, whether he's a 2-3 guy or a 4-5 guy. We know one thing. He's going to play well, he's going to play safely, and he's going to be a really responsible guy. So it is interesting here when you're looking at LA in a rebuild mode now. They go with Turcotte, excellent two-way player all-around game, and now they have a defenseman who displays those very same traits.
So they pick up a defenseman with the pick they got from the Maple Leafs in the Jake Muzzin deal. Your thoughts on Bjornfot? Louis.
You put all those pieces together, and as Sam said, you have a solid defender, and that's the thing that separates him from everybody else. It's not necessarily a skill set. It's when you put the package together, he's just absolutely solid. And he's got to compete off the charts again, and that's one of the common denominators. All these young players and players that make it, they're competitive people. This guy wants to be the guy. He wants to be a factor. and another Swedish defenseman. I mean, what can you say? They're a breeding ground for NHL defense.
Speaking of competition, Swedes and Finns always in competition. They each now have 3 players in the first round. Berkey.
Well, I don't think this player has any one attribute that screams NHL at you other than leadership, and I'll circle back to that in a moment. One scout said to me, this is a guy who you rate him in the game, skating, passing, shooting, and you're going to put him down as a bottom pair guy. But his will and his leadership skills will compel him to be a better player than that. He'll actually overachieve as a pro. It's a safe pick, like Louis said. They all think he's going to play. They like his leadership. But they've passed on, if you look at the list of guys up there, they've passed on some high-skilled guys. They might have gone safe here when they might have hit a home run if they picked someone else.
Archer Kaliev strikes me, Sam, and you've talked a lot about him as that one guy. 51 goals with Hamilton this year in the OHL.
That's a big number.
Is that the big dropper for you so far?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I think about... I think about Connor McMichael. Brett Leeson would be another guy in that category. Lavoie would be another guy in that category. And how about Kaliev?
Absolutely. Here's Rob Blake, GM of the Los Angeles Kings, with Elliott Freeman.
Rob, you did something I didn't know many people could do. You make our panel speechless for a second. Tell us about the young man you selected and why he was so high on your
Well, I think it's no secret. The character part of these, at least our first 2 picks in this draft, is a very important component to us. The skating, obviously, in that aspect and things. So, we're excited about these opportunities.
You are rebuilding a bit with your group right now. As you look over the next week, what are you going to be saying, we've got to add this?
Well, that's kind of what I touched on, competing character. I think we need to get that as a main ingredient. I mean, when you're talking about these first-round picks, they have the skill, they have the skating ability, the hockey sense and everything. We're looking for a lot of competing character.
Thanks very much, Rob.
Thank you.
Jeff?
All right, Elliot, excellent. Thank you very much. Next on the board, the New York Islanders and their general manager, Lou Lamoriello. Louis DeBrusk. This was an interesting season for the Islanders.
It really was. A tremendous turnaround from them. Went, I believe, last in the National Hockey League in goals against the first. They really ratcheted that up and played together as a team. I think great job to go in there and just turn that organization around. And listen, they have some great pieces. Obviously, Matt Barzal is the leading factor right there with the way he can skate and play. But exciting team to watch, and I think there's a bright future ahead for them.
Re-signed Brock Nelson, 6-year deal. Jordan Eberle comes in, takes a little bit of a haircut on a 5-year deal as well. And Brian, of course, we all know your association and familiarity with Lou Lamoriello. His second year as general, going into his second year as GM of the New York Islanders. What do we expect from the Islanders next season?
I don't generally disagree with Louis because he's a big, angry man. Exciting to watch the New York Islanders? No. It's like watching 2 guys fish. It's not exciting. It's a great defensive
Matt Barzal's pretty exciting.
Barzal's pretty fun.
And they allow the second fewest goals in the league. They're a great defensive team. Barry Trotz did a great job and was recognized for it. What I like about Lou is he is unafraid to take a gamble. Like, if you look, he's going to call a name out here that he thinks is the right name, and he doesn't care if people agree with it or not. I played for him for 4 years. Love him, owe him a lot. But exciting? No.
Barzal is exciting. The goaltender.
That's what they want you to believe. That's what
not make your team exciting.
They want you to believe. They want you to think they're boring, but when they get opportunities, look out.
That is interesting too. Your idea that Lou doesn't care about any list other than his own.
No, like he doesn't care. Like he taught us as players, do the right thing all the time. Doesn't matter if it's a popular thing. Doesn't matter if people agree with you. Do the right thing all the time.
And there he is, Lou Lamoriello, GM of the New York Islanders.
Thank you, Vancouver, and congratulations to Doug Armstrong and the St. Louis Blues. And the New York Islanders selection will be made by Velu Gotu.
Islanders will select from HV71 Swedish Junior League forward Simon Holmström.
To the previous point, and this is the New York Islanders squad, the last first-round pick that didn't come from North America for the Islanders, 2004, Petteri Nokalainen, Simon Holmström. Sam.
Well, you know what? He is a guy I did have him first round in my mock draft. I had him going 28 to Carolina. He gets ahead of the curve a little bit with this pick for the Islanders at 23. It's an injury-plagued season. It was really tough to get views on this guy. He had a double hip dysplasia. He had a broken wrist. He had concussion issues. So every time someone went in to see him, they had to wait around and see if he was going to be healthy enough to play coming back from all of those injuries. But where he was healthy was at the under-18 Worlds, and that recency bias definitely played a factor in the decision to take this player here. 6 points in 7 games, and what he plays is an NHL style of game. He is deadly from the circles on down. He's good on the cycle. He's good down low. He can take it to the net by coming off the wall. Those are the things that really play in today's NHL. Holmstrom is good in those areas, and now that he's healthy, it'll be interesting to see that developmental path take off.
Louis?
And plays that complete game, you know, so many Swedish forwards do. They play defense first. When they're in the scoring areas, they can make it count, as you mentioned, an injury-prone season. But when they needed to see what they needed to see, they saw it, and they step up and take this player because they feel that when healthy, he's a bona fide threat, and he's a first-rounder.
It's tough, Brian, when there are injuries all throughout the season and you don't see a player that has a number of games that he can string together. How tough is it to get a read on a player like that?
Very difficult. And this kid was a medical textbook last year. The good news is they're different injuries. It's not the same knee or the same shoulder, but this guy was a medical textbook. This really an unparalleled run of injuries for a player in one season of different types like this. But there are people, a lot of people had him like Sammy did in the first round or early second round. This isn't way out of place to take him where they're taking him. It's a little bit out of place. And there is the risk that you're picking a brittle player. You're picking a player who's prone to injury. But he's going about where he should.
What did you see, Sam?
Well, you know what happens a lot of times is scouts are out watching, and the under-17s has become a big scouting event. And what happens is you go there and you're able to watch players and you get a nice little book on a player, and then you follow him into his draft-eligible year. And at that point, you're saying, hey, I remember him when he played at the under-17s. I got a pretty good book on him. Maybe I better start to follow this player. But then he gets injured, and you're saying, wow, man, how am I going to be able to get the opportunity to see him? He was very lucky that he was healthy and able to come back and play in the under-18s because that's what made this decision.
All right, before we get to the Nashville pick, Lou Lamoriello is standing by with Elliott Freeman. Elliott.
Lou, this player was hurt a lot this year. How did that affect your scouting for him and affect your decision-making process on him?
Well, we checked him out quite thoroughly, and our doctors and everyone was, very, very supportive of us taking him and felt very comfortable. And that's all you can go on.
Was it harder to come to a consensus on taking him because of everything he went through this year?
Not really. I think that once you rely on your doctors, you have to go forward, and the upside really, made the decision.
Just a final one. You've got some business to take care of over the next little while. How much do you expect next year's Islander team to look like this one?
Well, as we said all along, we wanted to sign all our free agents, and we'll work towards that. And maybe we just halfway there right now.
Thanks very much, Lou.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Elliott, excellent. Okay, Nashville Predators are on the board next, and this is a team that had 100 points, was first in the Central, made the playoffs for the 5th consecutive season, lost to the Dallas Stars 6 games in the first round of the playoffs, and 12.9% on the power play last season. We all know about the blue line. It is world-class. Do they need to add more offense to this lineup, Sam?
Well, how about the one guy that's really slipped here, and that's Arthur Kaliev. And, throughout the interview process and watching him throughout the course of the last couple of years, you do see some deficiencies in his game. But here's a guy who has that innate ability to score goals. That's not an easy thing to do. It's the most coveted thing that you can try and get. He has it. 51 goals this year. Stamkos, Tavares, Skinner, DeBrincat. These are all guys who did that in their draft-eligible year in the Ontario Hockey League, yet he's still sitting here this late.
And Nashville has done the best job of them and San Jose probably of developing players. So if they're worried about his skating or his first 3 steps, that's a player they could turn into a player. They do a really good job with that in Milwaukee.
And the Nashville Predators are the subject of a lot of trade rumors this weekend in Vancouver. Names like PK Subban, names like Kyle Turris are very much out there, perhaps very much in play. As this team knows, they need to do something up front and on the back end and have a big contract on the horizon with Roman Josi. Nonetheless, before that, Nashville with their selection in the 2019 NHL Draft. Where do the Preds go? Here's the answer.
We'd like to say hello to our fans at our viewing watch party in Nashville. With our first choice, Nashville Predators select from the Niagara Ice Dogs, Phillip Tomasino.
There he is, 6 foot tall, 182 pounds, right shot. He can score, he can set up, and he played a little bit lower in the Niagara lineup than maybe he should have, because that's a team that loaded up and went for it this year, Sam Cosentino.
No question, and now you got a soft spot for this young man. His dad, Manny, and I go back to grade 2, so I'm really proud of him. I want to say that first off, but let's look at his year with Niagara. A right shot guy who can absolutely fly. 12 game-winning goals to lead all CHL players, and as you talked about, Jeff, he played out of position. He's a natural center. He'll probably go back to that spot next year. But when you talk about the depth that Niagara had, he was bumped over to the wing. You know what he said? No problem. I'll use my speed. I'll start to burn guys on the wing. And whenever the middle of the ice is open, I'll take advantage of that and use my great skill to finish there as well. He didn't play on the top power play unit. So when you look at his numbers in entirety, the analytics community loves him because he's able to produce at even strength. There are so many good elements to this young man's game, in a position pretty close to where I thought he might go, and a huge rise to prominence going back to the start of the year to where he is now as a first rounder.
In our interview at the Combine, he talked about doing some concrete work with his dad.
Yeah.
And he said, I realized really quickly, I don't want to do that for a living.
Yeah.
So this hockey thing better pan out. Listen, great work ethic. I like the fact, like you said, Sam, he's able to step over and play the wing instead of center. In today's game, that's vital for a forward to be able to shuffle around, make yourself versatile that way. His speed is off the charts. So in today's game, it's a fast game. It's going to bode well for him.
34 goals with the Ice Dogs this year.
Well, I think he's going to move back into the middle next year and play center for sure. They crowded him out to the wall because they had such depth. I think he's probably on the sharpest arc in this draft. Before a guy came from a year ago, 12 months ago, to where he is today, he's probably climbed as much as anybody. And he's just going to get better. I like this kid. He can skate. I saw him play when he first came into the league. I happened to catch one of his games a year and a half ago, and I was impressed with him right away. He's really good. Good feet. Good head. I like him.
Biggest goal increase, to your point, Brian, biggest goal increase of anybody in the CHL, 29 goal difference from 17 to his draft. That is outstanding. Connor McMichael in that conversation, and Nolan Foote of the Kelowna Rockets. Here's Phillip Tomasino with Tara Sloan.
Phil, you told us you wanted to be a first-round draft pick. You believed you could be a first-round draft pick. Here you are, a first-round draft pick. What was your mindset coming into today?
Yeah, obviously I didn't really know what to expect coming in for sure, but I'm honored to be put on the Nashville jersey for sure. So easily the best day of my life. So I'm looking forward to spending the rest of the night with my family as well. So it's been awesome. So
you also told us that you learned a lot through adversity, being cut from the under-18s that first time. What did you learn?
I think just stick to your game. Don't let anything distract you. I think just focus on yourself and helping the team win. I think that's kind of what I strive to do. And it's just seems like it's all paid off today. So I'm honored, and it's so exciting for sure. So I love it.
And part of your support system, of course, your team, players like Akil Thomas. What did you learn from that group?
Yeah, they were awesome to me. The last 2 years in Niagara, they've done everything for me they could, and I gotta give a lot of credit to them, and especially our fans as well. Back there it was amazing, and they've done everything for me. So I'm really thankful for all of them for sure. So
well, go celebrate. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
too.
it. Thank you.
It's time to take a break. When we come back, it is the Washington Capitals at number 25, the Calgary Flames at number 26, as our coverage from the 2019 NHL entry draft continues from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia.
Welcome back to Rogers Arena, home of the 2019 NHL draft in lovely Vancouver, British Columbia. I would like to, guys, considering we just saw the Islanders and the Nashville Predators and now the Washington Capitals about to select, call this area of the draft the Barry Trotz section. Washington
Capitals select from the London Knights, Connor McMichael.
All right, and they did it quick from the powerhouse London Knights of the OHL. Last year was Liam Foudy, who went first round to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Another one. London continues to crank them out, guys. Connor McMichael goes to the Washington Capitals.
Great story. I talked to Steve Stales last night. He's the general manager in Hamilton. He's the guy who originally drafted Connor McMichael into the league. And at that point last year, he's not a player that he wanted to give up, but the London Knights recognized something with this player. And the one thing is his ability to score goals. He has a real interesting way in which he flattens his hands. And look at at the reaction of the goaltenders here. They're baffled by what they're seeing from McMichael's stick. Stop, pop, flat wrist. There's so much deception to the shot that goaltenders react so late. That's the goalie of the year right there, Jukka-Pekka Luukkonen, for the Sudbury Wolves, that he just beat cleanly and beat to his surprise. So he has the ability to score goals in a variety of ways. I talked to Rob Simpson, the assistant general manager for the London Knights, and he gets in there and plays goal once in a while when they have a goalie down in practice. Said, I can't figure this guy out. I understand why he's able to score so many goals.
You mentioned the trade from Hamilton that brought him to London. He was traded for Robert Thomas.
That's right.
Who's now a standout with the St. Louis Blues. Any similarities to Robert Thomas's game in your estimation?
Well, I think so, because he can play in small spaces. He turns tight. He's got really good hands, and he's got that ability to get off the mark. That is something he still wants to improve, his ability to get off the mark. But it's the smarts and the decision-making in those tight spaces that really plays well in today's game. And I'm glad you completed that story for me about Robert Thomas, Steve Staios. The Hamilton Bulldogs essentially gave them an OHL championship, and at the end of the day, might have gave St. Louis a Stanley Cup championship.
I like what you talked about small spaces. Goal scorers know where to go to score goals, and he's no different. He gets himself to the positions to get that lethal shot away. And you talk about the shot of a goal scorer. They seem to find the back of the net when other people's shots don't. And it's because of that release. But I like his nose around the net. He's not afraid to go to that tight spot because he knows he can get that shot away. And when he does, he's deadly.
It's been challenging for the Washington Capitals. We haven't seen them at the draft take a player from the draft into the NHL going back to 2015 with Jonas Siegenthaler. Has been the only one. Berkey, what do you think of this pick, the Knights forward?
Well, first off, Washington hasn't been able to do that because they pick so low every year. Yeah. And they've done such a good job. Okay, I'll wait.
All right, Tara Sloan with Connor McMichael.
Connor, your minor midget coach, Danny Minning, said he didn't think you really knew how good you were. Is it starting to sink in? You get it now?
yeah, this feeling's awesome. It's hard to describe, and like you said, I've always been a humble kid, so right now it's kind of my dreams becoming reality, so I'm pretty excited.
A lot of focus on physical growth, but you also focus on the mental game with your trainer. Why is having a mental coach so important to your growth as a person?
Yeah, he's been amazing. Obviously, I work at a Twist, and he's been great with me. And like you said, it's big for me to have him because when I go through ups and downs, he's always there for me. And yeah, it's awesome.
Well, you know, Steve Giovanni will be very proud of you, as is everybody in Ajax and all across this country. Congratulations to you, Connor.
Thank you.
Jeff, back to you.
All right, outstanding stuff right there, and good for him with the mental coach. It is very much not just a physical game, as you guys well know, and Louis, you can talk about this with your son as well. Jake, how much of it is what goes on in between the ears as we wait for Calgary to make their pick?
Extremely mental, and you're going to go through so many ups and downs and adversity along the way, and people are going to tell you you're not as good as you should be. As we heard, he didn't even believe that he was necessarily as good as he is, and you have to have that confidence in yourself, and I think it's a great tool that the players should use, and it's very important. It's one of the most important aspects of the game.
To the point earlier about the London Knights as well, they've had a player chosen in the first round since 2011, every single season except for 2014, so that powerhouse story continues.
It's the Knights. What do you expect?
I know, Louis. We know you play with the London Knights. I get you used to run the table every year, Lou. No, we get it. Calgary Flames are up next. Burke, you know this organization quite well. What do we expect from Brad Treliving and company?
Well, one thing they believe, even though lack of size was an issue for them in the playoffs last year, they believe they've had good luck with small, skilled forwards. I know there's a couple they like. I don't know who they're going to take, but I know that they've said they're not afraid to take a smaller guy that plays hard and plays with jam and scores goals. So they didn't give me any indication. I will tell you, on the last pick, on McMichael, a team told me they hope to get him at 33 or 34. I'm not going to give the team up. But high second round, they're screaming right now. Someone's ripping up a list.
This is a big one for the Calgary Flames. They did not have a draft pick last year until the fourth round with pick number 105. So a pleasant return to the first round for the Calgary Flames. Good to see Brad Treliving and crew here in a couple of moments make the 26th overall pick. Calgary Flames are next up.
Calgary Flames would like to thank the great city of Vancouver, Vancouver Canucks, for a wonderful draft weekend. We'd also like to say a special hello to the greatest hockey fans back in Calgary. first selection from Moncton of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Jacob Pelche.
Okay, Brian, you were right. They're not shy about drafting smallish hockey players. 5'9", 165. This is center from the Wildcats.
And this is not about the size of the dog in the fight. This is the fight in the dog. This guy's highly competitive, scores goals in every part of the rink. And Brad Treliving was telling me, he's interviewed with him, he said, why should we take you? If we get to our pick at 26 and you're still there, why should we take you? And the kid said, because I will win the Stanley Cup. And they said, interview over. He wowed us. In our interview at the Combine, this kid blew us all away.
Yeah.
So intense, so serious, but polite and respectful. He's way bigger than the sum of his parts, this kid.
89 points in 65 games, Sam.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this player. You know, he goes to the under-18s, he starts as a 12th forward, he doesn't complain, he ends up moving up the lineup to win a gold medal at the Hlinka Gretzky. And unfortunately for this young man, and I thought it was going to hurt him a little bit, he suffered a lower body issue, a high ankle sprain in the playoffs for Moncton. He ended up scoring essentially with one leg a game-winning goal before Moncton fizzled out in the playoffs. He got the call from Canada to go play at the under-18s, and as hurt as he was, he said, you know what, I want to answer the call for my country. He went over there, he provided leadership, he was only able to put up a couple of assists because he wasn't playing at 100%. But you have to love the character and the drive, the determination, the will to say, you know what, I don't care if I'm hurt, I'm going to go play for my country.
Not the biggest guy, but not afraid to go to the danger areas. And Brendan Gallagher-ish in that sense. He will go to the tough spots to score goals. You saw that celebration in the one video clip. He plays with that passion. He just drags guys into the fight with him. I like that from a smaller player. You have to play big. This guy plays big.
When you were with Calgary, what was the feeling? I mean, listen, Johnny Gaudreau was an elite-level player. What was the feeling around the Flames with smallish players? Some teams will really do feel you can't have too many of these guys. Is that still a thing in the NHL, Berkey?
Well, our view was, again, drafting Andrew Mangiapane, for example. He was on our list at a certain spot. We're like, okay, we know we need to get bigger, but we really like this player, we're going to take him. And it's turned out to be a good pick. Same thing signing Spencer Fu as a free agent. Not a huge guy, but highly talented guy. So the philosophy was, we're going to take the best available player, best available athlete on the list, and if he's small, he's small. We can address the size issue through subsequent picks or through trade. So this is just what Tree was telling me earlier on the floor. He didn't name the player, but he said this is the type of guy we're not afraid of taking. And then I asked him about Pelche. So, well, that's a guy we really like. He said he blew us away with the interview, but I'm not going to tell you if we're taking him or not.
You know, one of the things that we see in the NHL, one of the lessons of the last couple of seasons is whenever you can improve with skill, you make that deal, no matter whether it's a bottom pairing defenseman or a first line right winger. We're seeing the same thing in the draft, Sam?
Yeah, there's no question about it. And you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning and what a great regular season they had. But with guys like Tyler Johnson, Palat, Point, who are smaller, skilled players, but the cautionary tale is they were beat out in round one in a sweep. And then you look at the St. Louis Blues, bigger, heavier. I think that combination, that mix of both, there's a lot to be said about one team that gets you in the playoffs and one team that wins in the playoffs. And it'll be interesting to see how Pelche fits in that mix.
All right, here's the Calgary Flames general manager, Brad Treliving, with Elliott Freeman.
So Brian Burke told a story about your interview with Pelche. Now let's hear the true version. What was the story of the interview with Pelche?
We've gotten to know him a lot over the last little bit and talked to him today. And, you know, what we love about him is that competitive spirit. And we kind of put at him, why you for Calgary? He says, because we're going to win the cup. And so that, you know, a skilled kid, but heavy competitiveness, high-end compete, and high-end hockey sense. So glad to have him.
Were you all surprised at how quiet the draft has been for trades or anything like that? Because we were kind of wondering that there would be more.
Well, I mean, you still got tomorrow, right? And the weekend. There's lots of talk, but there's a little bit of a crunch right now. You look at a lot of teams that are up against it in terms of the salary cap. Lots of moving parts. I think we still got a lot of weekend left here, so I still think there'll be movement.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Elliott.
Jeff?
Okay, Elliott, excellent. We turn our attention now to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They will select 27th overall, record-breaking season, 128 points, franchise. Oh, hang on, before we get to Tampa, here is Pelche with Tara Sloan.
Yes, we grabbed him. You had 65 people join you at the QMJHL draft. You have about 50 people joining you here in Vancouver.
Yes.
What can you say about the support of your family and friends the whole way?
Well, I think, first of all, it's because of them that I am here today. So
I can't thank them enough for the support for sure.
Unbelievable. Well, I know Moncton is so proud of you today. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Calgary. Jeff.
All right, there we go, Tara. Excellent. It is the Tampa Bay Lightning's turn. Julien Brisebois, the general manager of said franchise. We'll see where they go with pick number 27. See where they go. Maybe let the kids pick, Berkey.
You notice Calgary, no hat on the player?
Now, where does that come from, Berkey?
You get a better picture if you don't put a hat on.
The Tampa Bay Lightning are very proud to select from Kelowna of the Western Hockey League, Nolan Foote.
Wow. So Tampa in 2017 selected Cal Foote. These are two of the sons of Adam Foote, former NHLer. What do we think of Nolan Foote selected here by Tampa, Sam?
Well, he does that thing, and that's score goals. He's an amazing player in that regard. And again, I went in on February 7th and watched him that game against Prince George. Absolutely brilliant. Scored in the shootout, scored shorthanded, but is a guy who can put it in the back of the net, no doubt.
He was one of those guys that had a huge increase in goals from last year to this year. Big guy, and I played against his dad, who was an ultra competitor. He's got an older brother that was drafted as well that plays. I mean, this is a guy that puts the puck in the net. He has an NHL shot already in junior. You can't teach that. You cannot teach that type of a shot. His wrister is wicked, and you know what? He's a big guy that's not afraid to take up space and go to the dirty areas.
This guy, they've gone off the chart here a little bit, off the list here a little bit. This player's rated considerably lower on most draft lists. So they must have seen what Louie's talking about is he's an elite goal scorer. The skating will catch up. He's a big guy, and he can play a couple different spots in the lineup. So this is one where you're saying, we see something the other people don't see. We're rolling the dice, and we're going to do it. I like the chances on this.
You talk about the second brother.
Yep.
I mean, that's a perfect example. You have intimate knowledge of the family. You have intimate knowledge of the developmental path of his brother, Cal, who I understand is going to knock on the door here to play in Tampa next year. And so you're expecting that path to be followed and maybe increased upon by the younger brother in Nolan. And it's got to be a tough thing. You go through a coaching change. Jason Smith was the head coach in Kelowna this year. They switched over to Adam Foote to be able to play for your dad, and then your dad's got the pressure Memorial Cup team next year. That's a lot to be put on a young man and the dynamic you have in a room. Yet he handled it with no problem. And he scored 36 goals till he needed surgery at the end of the year with essentially a broken ulnar bone. I mean, that's amazing stuff to think about. Now, he has been injury prone here throughout his career the last couple of years. But I go back to when he was a 15-year-old. Wow. That's when he really jumped onto the map, the scouts. And that little book they put together in the years previous to the draft year really served Nolan Foote well.
One of the comparables is Josh Anderson of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and in a lot of ways, not every team has a player like that. Those are some of the rarest players to find, so perhaps we shouldn't be surprised that he finds his way into the first round. Here he is with Tara Sloan.
Nolan just sat down. He said, I can't believe it. What's going through your mind?
It's just shocking. It feels amazing to play junior with Cal for 2 years in Kelowna, and now hopefully one day in the National Hockey League. It's a great feeling.
I know your dad never wants to take away from you and your experience, but maybe you can give him some love here. What has it been like working with him as your major junior coach?
Yeah, it's just not just major, but having him grown up as a father and all his knowledge for the game and everything he's given me and my brother it's been huge support and a lot of help, and having him on the bench in Kelowna, it's been great, and personally for my development's been huge, but more for our team next year, hopefully to have a great year, and we're hosting a Memorial Cup, so hopefully it's great.
Kelowna 2020, it's going to be fun. Nolan, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, heading back to you.
A brother act playing on the same team. Know anything about that, Berkey? Lights, camera, action. Looking good, young man. 2019 NHL Draft from Vancouver and Rogers Arena continues in moments.
They're a bunch of jerks as far as I'm concerned.
Had a good time, sold out some buildings, galvanized an entire fan base, and here they are
We'd like
selecting.
to thank the Vancouver Canucks, the city of Vancouver, for their hospitality. I'd like to say hello to our great fans back in Raleigh. I'd also like to congratulate Tony McDonald and Bert Marshall, who are retiring at the end of the year for their great careers. To make our selection will be Tony McDonald.
The Carolina Hurricanes select from the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League, Ryan Suzuki.
There it is, Ryan Suzuki, Sam Cosentino, the first overall draft pick in the 2017 OHL draft. His older brother, Nick, of course, a prospect for the Montreal Canadiens, a former Vegas first-rounder. What do we make of Ryan?
Well, he's got the great benefit of being able to follow in his brother's footsteps, but the other benefit is being able to play for a guy like Dale Hawerchuk, a Hall of Famer, who's produced guys like Mangiapane that you talked about, Kevin LeBanc, Tanner Pearson, Mark Scheifele. The list goes on for high-end offensive players to come from that Barrie Colts program. So everyone wants to make the comparison to his brother. I think he's a better skater than his brother. Everyone talks about him being a, quote, genius in terms of his hockey IQ. The knocks against him were the fact that he didn't take it to the middle of the ice and the fact that he didn't shoot enough despite all of the pleas from his head coach Dale Hawerchuk to shoot more. But a dish-first guy who really thinks the game well and can control the pace of play because of great edge work and great skating ability. So I think this is a guy who probably expected to go in that 20 range. A big sigh of relief here, and the comparisons to his brother will immediately begin.
10th set of brothers that's been drafted in the National Hockey League in the first round the last 10 years. And, you know, we just saw Nolan Foote make up the 9th in the last pick, but, you know, for me, he's a cerebral player. And what I like about his game is that calmness. You know, it's really hard under pressure in tight areas to be calm with that puck and make the right play. He doesn't get rattled when he's in that mixture, and I like to see that in a young player. He can carry that forward, but you know, certainly I think the intensity needs to go up, but if you can keep that calmness when it gets intense, I mean, then you're a really dynamic player.
From a really athletic family as well, even going back to his grandfather playing basketball in 1969 at the Canada Goodwill Games as well. This is an impressive young man, Berkey.
Really impressive. Elite brain, really a personable kid. A great, very mature kid. I felt like I was talking to a guy who had played on my team for 5 years. Again, a multi-sport athlete. Played a bunch of different sports, soccer, lacrosse, battled his older brother, again, birth order, but elite brain. I asked him what he needs to improve upon. He said, I need to protect the puck better. I need to hold on to the puck more, but most of all, he said, like you said, Sammy, I need to shoot more, and that's Dale Hawerchuk hollered at him. He's going to score a pile of goals next year.
I love the point you make about these multi-sport guys. I'm so relieved to hear that because all across the country, kids are sitting at home and saying, well, I just finished my season. I'm going to spring hockey. Then I'm going to summer camp. I think the agility, the muscle memory, the ability to think a different game is really helpful, and I love to hear these multi-sport guys really starting to come to the fore in this draft.
Wonderful family, wonderful young man, Ryan Suzuki with Tara Slum.
He is a wonderful young man, but he's got to be ready to be a jerk. Are you ready to be a jerk amongst a bunch of jerks?
Yeah, for sure.
I got to ask you, your signature has been a bow tie. No bow tie tonight.
No, that was just for the OHL. I'm a little more classy tonight, but
there you go.
There's nothing wrong with a little style with the bow tie. I saw one of the other guys with it, so.
You've upped and changed your game.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you, the guys mentioned your grandfather, Art, who won a gold medal in basketball at the very first Canada Winter Games. He couldn't be with you tonight, but what kind of inspiration has he provided for you and your family?
Yeah, I mean, when I was playing minor hockey, he was at every game in London, so I mean, he still never misses a game at home. He's always recording them. If he's out, he'll come back and rewatch it, so he's definitely a pretty special person in my life, and I wish he could be here, but I definitely see him when I get back.
Well, another special person in your life, your brother Nick, you got to watch him go through this process 2 years ago. He's standing by with Dan Murphy.
Tara, thank you. Yes, you still have bragging rights in the family in terms of going higher in the first round, but that aside, how proud of your brother are you?
Yeah, I'm a very proud brother. He's been through so much, and he's earned everything he's got, and just be here with him and to see him go to such a great team and play with his buddy Svechnikov again it'll be pretty cool for him.
Everybody's going to want to compare the two brothers, so how do you guys compare as hockey players?
Yeah, I think we're pretty similar. Both think the game really well. He's a great playmaker. He skates a little bit better than me, so I think as players we compare pretty well.
Congrats, another great day for the family.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeff.
These are really mature young men. Like, let's just be blunt about it. These are really young men that are mature beyond their years. It's tough not to be impressed by the Suzukis.
No question. You love to be able to follow the footsteps for a brother that's really paved the way. And, you know, it was interesting in dealing with Nick at the Memorial Cup this year. He was an acquisition by Guelph, and I asked a lot of the Guelph players, Who has impressed you most about the 7 additions made to your team? And to a man, they talked about Nick Suzuki, that he has the ability to turn it up. And I think that ability will come through in his brother Ryan as his career moves on and he progresses and he matures more physically.
All right, next up, the Anaheim Ducks, whom we've already seen select Trevor Zegras 9th overall as this team retools after missing the playoffs for the first time in 6 seasons. You've made this point before, Sam. We'll see what happens here. Sometimes the second pick,
Anaheim
you can kind of swing
Ducks
for the fences.
are excited to select from the Moose Jaw Warriors, Braden Tracy.
Right, Sam, is that
that's a little off the board. It's a little off the board, but this guy had a late, great resurgence, and he's an amazing story because if you go back to Moose Jaw's team last year, they were a veteran-laden group. So Alan Miller, the general manager, Tim Hunter, the head coach, said, you know what? We're not going to give you a ton of ice time here. How about you go back and play midget? So he went back to the Calgary area. He played midget. He played in all kinds of situations. He played a ton of minutes. He was able to play on the power play. He was able to develop his game. So I love the fact that when he's looking at a first-round pick in the WHL Bantam draft with Cousins, with Doc, with Krebs, all those guys who played their 16-year-old season in the league, he did. He accepted the fact that he'd become a better player if he went back and played midget. So then he comes to Moose Jaw this year. He's on arguably the top line in the Western Hockey League. We're going to talk about Tristan Langen, who probably signed as a free agent, Justin Almeida, a Pittsburgh prospect, and Tracy was the guy who helped drive that line. Really, really good offensively, and a guy who's really elusive. Has an excellent shot. They do worry about his skating a little bit, but I love the fact that he accepted the position to go back and develop at midget before making his way to Moose Jaw full-time this year.
We've talked a lot about goal scoring in this draft and how important it is, and this guy just scores goals, and the instincts that he has to get to the right spots for me are what set him apart. I mean, yes, he played with 2 veteran guys, 2 great players, but he knew where to go to be the most effective on that line, and he took full advantage of it.
And like Tomasino, rapid arc. He's gone from a relative unknown, led all rookies in scoring, gone from a guy you didn't discuss at all to kind of a household name when you're talking about the draft. But I'm with Sam. This is a little bit off the chart. This is Bob Murray, who is not afraid to gamble, saying, we're willing to take a chance on this pick. It's our second pick in the first round. We're going to gamble a wee bit here, and we'll see what happens.
He's got a little bite to him. You know, I talked to him at the Combine, and I said, hey, the under-18s went well for you. He said, you know what? I'm so glad they took me to the under-18s because I wanted to prove that I could play with all the guys that I was drafted with and prove that I belong in that elite level. 7 points in 7 games, and those recency viewings, I believe, helped him along with the fact that he played on a line and played a ton of minutes for Tim Hunter and Moose Jaw.
And whenever we rate kids at the draft, every year we'd say the same thing. What's the easiest thing to improve? Skating.
Skating, and some great work, again, by Tim Hunter, who sends another first-round pick to the NHL. It's Hugs, brother to brother. Hey, my bro's a jerk. What a wonderful city and a great host town. Vancouver, home of the 2019 NHL Draft. It matters to Scotiabank because it matters to Canadians. The Scotiabank Semiahmoo Adametu hockey team from White Rock, BC had a chance to be on the blue carpet for the Prospects arrivals today. This year's team supported Wigs for Kids BC. That's an organization that provides custom-made wigs for children at BC's Children's Hospital who are going through cancer treatment. This is a great example of a team that gives back to their community. That is outstanding. Now, you'll hear some scattered boos, and it will get louder as the Boston Bruins, there's Don Sweeney, approach the podium here. When their logo appeared on the Jumbotron behind us, the boos were almost deafening. This will not be a very popular choice. We knew 2 things going into this draft, Sam Cosentino. Jack Hughes was going first overall, and this would not be a popular moment at Rogers Arena.
Yeah, take the water bottle away from that guy. He's liable to start tossing them into the stands.
Don't make the big man angry.
Be curious to see what the Boston Bruins do here. Don Sweeney has drafted a defenseman with 3 of his 6 first-round picks as general manager, going into his 5th season as the GM of this Boston Bruins squad. Really disappointed in that Stanley Cup final, a Game 7 loss to the St. Louis Blues. You will notice, Louis, as a courtesy to you, we haven't played Gloria at any point during the program today. What do we expect Cam Neely, the Boston Bruins here, to do with this pick?
It's a good question. You know, there's no question they've made some great picks, I think, especially on the back end. You know, you look at Charlie McAvoy, who they took a few years ago, and Will they go forward here? I'm leaning towards that. I'm leaning towards them maybe picking a forward with this pick, but we'll see. There's a few areas they certainly want to build, and I think depth in the forward position would be one of them.
Great pick. What about that DeBrusk?
Yeah, DeBrusk was pretty good too. Yeah.
Where are you at on the Boston Bruins right now, Berkey?
Well, I'm enjoying the booing because I got booed in so many arenas. I'm glad they're not booing Gary Bettman, but no, it's. I think they'll go forward, but who knows, right?
The one thing, last time the draft was here in 2006, that's when the Boston Bruins selected Brad Marchand in the 3rd round. Let's just let the boos serenade, shall we?
First of all, I'd like to thank the city of Vancouver, the Vancouver Canucks for their hospitality. Shout out to Maple Ridge. I'm going to have a fellow British Columbian, Dean Malcott, select our pick.
Proud to select John Beecher.
First of all, the Bruins were trying everything in their bag of tricks to get the crowd back. Comox, BC, Cam Neely. Okay, John Beecher goes from the U.S. National Team Development Program, 6'3". This is a big power forward left-hand shot with some skill, Sam.
Tim Murray-esque like pick, John Beecher. His father Bill was a lacrosse guy at Elmira College. His mother Natasha ran track, so he comes from pretty good athletic bloodlines. But I think there's some hidden offense that will come out in this player. When I think about the depth of that under-18 team, with Hughes, with Zegras, with Baldy, with Caulfield, you look at all these guys, and the opportunities to produce top-minute offense weren't necessarily there for a guy like Beecher. But what he is a guarantee. He's going to play no matter what. Some people question where that offensive upside is, where that ceiling is. I think there's more in it than maybe what is projected. But a guy who, with that size and speed is going to play in today's NHL. Plus, you've got a big body guy who can protect, who can play in that cycle game, and that's something that I think Boston is looking to address with this player.
Look at the size of him. Dean Malcott's not a small guy, neither is Cam Neely. And you know what? Talking with his teammates at the Combine in the interviews, his name came up at least 4 different times about guy that they would like to go to battle with. He was the guy that most of those guys, if they had to pick one guy to go to battle with, it was Beecher. So that says a lot about the character that he brings to the game and the size and the physicality. And for the Boston Bruins, knowing the team pretty well, that's something they felt maybe they lacked a little bit in that final against the St. Louis Blues, was that physicality and punch. This guy will provide that with some scoring offense as well.
Does Captain Truculence appreciate this pick?
Yes, I do. Louis just stole my remarks. I was going to talk about how many guys mentioned Beecher as a guy that they would like to go into a trench with. This guy, one scout said to me, he said, forget asking whether or not he can play as a center. He's going to be a winger in the NHL, second-line winger at worst. That's how safe this, it wasn't the Bruins, that's how safe they felt about this.
All right, this has been an absolutely huge night for the U.S. program. Here's John Wroblewski with Dan Murphy.
Thank you very much. They call him Robo. He's not a parent, but he's smiling like a proud parent right now. What are the Bruins getting in John Beecher?
Well, you get this, I think it's a great fit organizationally. You have this big, strong kid who's assuredly going to play in the National Hockey League. And I just think that you get this, a 200-foot momentum type of player. And when you watch his scoring chances in succession, it's truly, you get this man-child, and it's going to be awesome for the Bruins fans.
You're the head coach of the U.S. Development Program. 7 of the top 15 picks came from that. Now 8 in the first round so far. Why has it been so successful for this season?
Well, it's the internal competition that the program provides, and you get guys like Jack Hughes, of course, that are paramount to the program, but then you have Trevor Zegras and Alex Turcotte chasing him. They provide that internal competition, which the players have to get better every single day in practice, and we don't care what happens on Friday and Saturday night. We want to make the guys better. We believe that 15 minutes on Friday night or 15 minutes on Saturday night, it's fun for competition, but you get better with 8 hours of practice during the week. And so, that's our mantra, and something that I think that our guys have really thrived on this last couple of years.
Congratulations on a huge day for the program.
Hey, congratulations on everything you guys have done. Great.
Jeff.
Excellent, Murph. Another thought on the U.S. Development Program, now 8 of the first 30. Buffalo's on the board here in a couple of seconds, but 8 players from the program, shattering the previous record of 3.
I'm shocked that they didn't win the Five Nations tournament. I'm shocked that they didn't win the Under-18 Worlds. I mean, they ran into a hot goalie, but my goodness, what a collection of individuals, no doubt about that.
Here's John Beecher with Harris Lum.
This guy cannot wipe the smile off his face. For a guy who once told his parents the ice is too slippery, You've come a long way. What's going through your mind right now?
It's a childhood dream come true. It's just a step forward in the right direction. But to be sitting here right now, it's something I could never even imagined of. So I couldn't be happier, and to be able to share it with my family, my friends up in the crowd it's something extremely special. So
your brother Bryce has been your biggest hockey influence.
Yep.
How come?
He's the one that got me into the game. Unfortunately, he had to stop playing at a young age. He had both of his hips replaced when he turned 18 years old, and it was tough. To see him go through that, and that ended his career. So, it kind of just taught me to take every day. Can't take anything for granted. So, he's never really complained or said why me, and he's helped me along the way. He's my trainer in the summers, and we're best friends. So I love the guy.
And that's why you're as popular as you are. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Now, Jeff, back to you.
All right, there he is. I can't help whenever I see John Beecher, and especially maybe just because he's in a Bruins jersey right now, but there is a Neely thing about John Beecher. All right, Buffalo Sabres are up. This is the pick they got from the St. Louis Blues in the Ryan O'Reilly deal, which in January, by the way, was looking like a lottery pick. It's not. Today it's pick number 31 because of the Stanley Cup victory.
Buffalo Sabres select from Sioux Falls, Ryan Johnson.
Okay, here's what's interesting about that. His father, Craig, was a St. Louis Blues draft pick in 1990 and played over 500 games. And as we mentioned, this was the pick they got from the St. Louis Blues. Ryan Johnson goes to the Buffalo Sabres, Sam.
Continuously talks about his dad and how his dad helps him in every single facet of the game. But an interesting pick here for me for the Sabres when I look at the point total. 6 goals, 19 assists, 25 points in the 54 games. But he turned it up a little bit in the playoffs and added 8 points there. The hallmark of his game is his skating ability and the first pass guy. Again, where does that offensive upside lie? That would be the question mark surrounding this player. Having said that, he can play today's game because of that great skating ability and the ability to get back on retrievals, move pucks quickly, and at times be able to break it out on his own.
There's his dad, Craig, taking a picture of his son going up there, a proud moment for him. And, again, having a father that's played, it's been in his bloodline since the day he was born. And this is something that he's wanted to do and wanted to step in and be a hockey player, and a big moment for him and his family once again. And we're seeing this so often, growing up in that lifestyle. It's just almost like you're the heir apparent. It's something you want him to have to do. And good on him, the last pick in the first round of this year's draft.
And it's one of the coolest parts of doing the draft is the kids.
Yep.
It's really cool to see that a guy you played with or that you drafted yourself, and now you're drafting his kid. And his dad was not a natural talent NHL player that played 500 games. He was a hard-working, mean, cerebral player. This is a guy who scratched and clawed for everything he got, and he managed to get 500 games in when a lot of other guys would have just quit. And he's turned into coaching in the youth hockey area in Southern California. Good for this family today. Congratulations.
What about the league that he comes from, Sam?
Playing in the USHL. Yeah, it's a league that's a little bit of an older league, and the fact that you're able to play in that league, you look at all the U.S. under-18 program guys, so they get to play in the big events. But what USA Hockey does a really good job at is at the Hlinka Gretzky and at the World Junior A Challenge, the players who aren't playing in the under-18 program get an opportunity to go play in those events. And it's really helpful for them in terms of scouting and being seen because those are well-attended events by scouts. And that's partially as a result of not only seeing him in the USHL, but at the World Junior A Challenge.
Took a while, but there we are. We saw the first player from the USHL selected in the first round of the draft this year. Jason Botterill standing by with Elliott Freeman.
Jason, you had a lot of options there. Last pick of the first round. Why did you go with Johnson?
We just thought he had a great year this year in the USHL. A great skater. Has that puck-moving ability, plays a hard game defensively, and how we want to play in Buffalo here, pushing the pace, we think he's going to be a good fit down the road.
This first round, like last year, there were predictions of a lot of things that were going to happen.
Yep.
Very little happened. Yep. This year, again, same deal, very little happened. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's just a lot of talk leading up to it, and but I think there was so much talent, so much deep depth, but I don't think teams wanted to maybe move up. They felt comfortable that they were going to get a player if they stayed where they're at, and it just goes to show there was a lot of depth in the draft this year in a lot of different positions, and I know we were very happy who we got at 7 and 31.
Do you expect tomorrow to be busier?
I think there's always a lot of discussion. I think with free agency a week later here, I think a lot of things are maybe setting up for next week, but we'll certainly look forward to another good day tomorrow.
Thanks very much, Jason. Congratulations on your picks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Jeff?
Okay, Elliott. Brian, let's pick up on that conversation that Elliott just had with Jason Botfield, GM of the Buffalo Sabres. How many seeds would have been planted this afternoon, tonight, maybe even all week long, that may not find a home today, but at some point find a home over the weekend?
Probably a lot, but I am disappointed there wasn't more activity today. I truly am. Given every GM I talked to said the phone is ringing off the hook. There's going to be a dozen trades. There's going to be 6 trades. And the build-up, obviously, the draft didn't live up to its build-up in terms of moves and excitement. But I think Jason Botterill's explanation is probably the right one, which is there's too much compression in this draft to justify making a lot of trades. You're going to get the same player if you stay where you are.
You know, last year at this time, there was something cooking between the Montreal Canadiens and the Los Angeles Kings involving Max Pacioretty. That was all supposed to be consummated on the Saturday. That exploded. We've seen previous with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Toronto Maple Leafs with Phil Kessel. I can still recall looking down after, you were there too, Sam, you can look down at the draft table of the Penguins as there's a big argument at the table, everybody's gone, and it was over the Phil Kessel deal. That eventually ended up happening. Do you think we see big deals on the horizon, Berkey, as early as this season?
I don't see big deals happening. It's going to be money-oriented right now, in my opinion. Guys trying to move bad contracts, it's going to be hard to do.
All right, we'll step away, come back with more coverage. Meantime, have a look at your top 3 picks, the 2019 NHL Draft from Vancouver. There they are, Jack Hughes, New Jersey, Capo Caco to the Rangers, Kirby Dach to the Chicago Blackhawks. 3 real good young hockey players right there. Here's a look at your first round. As expected, Jack Hughes, Capo Caco go 1-2. First Canadian team selecting, that was the Oilers at 8. Phillip Roberge, the defenseman, goes to Edmonton. Back inside Rogers Arena, Jeff Merrick alongside Sam Cosentino, our lead draft analyst, Louis DeBrusque and Brian Burke. Sam, we'll start with you. What's your main takeaway from day 1 of the NHL Draft?
Arthur Kaliyev not selected. 51 goals in the regular season. Goal scoring is a coveted asset. The next guy would be Raphael Lavoie of the Halifax Mooseheads. When I think about him and his 20 goals in 23 games in the playoffs, both outside of the first round.
Great second half, great playoff for him. Lou?
Big night for the U.S. National Development Program. We knew it was going to be coming in, but, I mean, it lived up to the billing. We figured there'd be 8 guys potentially in this first round. Well, 8 went in the first round, and there'll be more tomorrow. Just a remarkable season for them and a showing at this draft. They should be really proud of themselves.
Berkey.
Good showing for North America together. European contingent dropped a bit, I think, from a year ago, but less certainly than was projected. And the emphasis on skill. More small to medium-sized players with skill drafted than in prior years.
All right, and there you go. So there's the first round of the 2019 NHL Draft. It was an interesting one, and as expected, it was the return of the Western Hockey League and the dominance of the United States Development Program. We're back with more coverage from Vancouver in moments.
Hey guys, it's Mark Giordano, captain of the Calgary Flames. I just want to congratulate all you guys who've been drafted, and to you guys who haven't been drafted, I wasn't either.
That is outstanding. Norris Trophy winner Mark Giordano. Not only was he never drafted in the NHL, he was never drafted in the OHL either. And there he is, your now reigning Norris Trophy winner in the National Hockey League. Jerseys, hats, hugs and smiles all around. Round 1 is in the books. Round 2 tomorrow. Good night from Vancouver.